Game show is sponsored by Subway. Fresh-made sandwiches on fresh-baked bread. Subway, eat fresh.
Championship game has been punched by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The defending champion Ravens are out. Elvis Grbac, 18 of 37, 153 yards, 3 picks, a quarterback rating of 26.06 in that game. The Steelers will now host New England in the AFC Championship game.
You wonder what's going to happen by March, because the Ravens have to pay Grbac $6 million to have his services for next year. And you know, with that performance today, he said he wasn't going to adopt him, and
he got hit today.
Yeah,
the Dolphins didn't hit him. He got hit today and looked like we'd seen all year.
And keep this number in mind. Get a little love. Cordell Stewart's way 18-4 in his last 22
Congratulations,
starts.
Pittsburgh.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
All right, big boy. Wow, the Green Bay Packers defense have a challenge in front of them today.
You know, JB, when I was a player, you play in big games like this, and you like to kind of go to bed at night and visualize the game, play it in your head. And Green Bay defensive players are saying all the right things, but I have to believe what they're seeing is a nightmare.
Touchdown, Isaac Bruce. Corner settles in, fires, got it. Touchdown, Rams.
Touchdown, Marshall Faulk. St. Louis is one of those teams, since we hadn't played the last couple of years, that you always wonder, well, how will we really match up against those guys?
We want to go out and dictate. We don't want to be sitting back, okay, now we're going to do this.
Great defenses and teams welcome challenges like this. When you do get your chance to get your shot, you got to put everything into it.
We're going to play a game of, word association, where I say something. We're going to do picture association.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a picture, and the first thing that pops in your head, okay?
And Kurt Warner put it right on the money.
MVP.
Wow. Quick release.
That was it. Wow.
Torrey Holt got it into the end zone. The Rams get it.
Playmaker.
Speed.
Marshall Faulk, what a catch!
Complete.
Fast.
Into the corner, Bruce, touchdown.
Fundamentally sound.
The sweetest route runner in the league.
How do you see this thing playing out in your head?
Well, I got to keep some of that to myself. And they are going to get some matchups because there's so many of them. And you have to have a great tackling.
When you look at this team, who do you stop?
Well, I think initially, and everyone will say this, you have to start Marshall Faulk. I would have to say the quarterback.
You start with the run game. If they can do both things to you, they can probably do anything they want.
If you get to the quarterback, he's pretty much the guy that's running everything.
28, above and beyond anybody else. He's kind of Kurt Warner's pacifier.
Straight back to pass, gonna unload. Caught, touchdown, Rams. It's Marshall Faulk.
It seems to be a foregone conclusion that this game is already won by St. Louis. And I hear you're angry, and that's good.
Well, you're right. I am a little angry because, it seems as though all year long we've been, considered the underdogs.
Everybody except your mom and your wife. Everybody else is like, well, it was a good year for you guys. Better luck next time.
We played some tough teams this year. We beat the reigning Super Bowl champions. We beat the team that was in the Super Bowl with them. Went on the road and got some great wins.
You're, from what I gather, a guy that has kind of a theme for each week. What's your theme this week?
We want to make one more play than them. That's really would be the key thing to this game, because it'll be a hard-fought game.
Biggest thing that we want to do is go in full throttle, making big plays, and see what happens when the dust settles. I think we're going to have a lot of people surprised at the end of the game.
I think the big question is, how do you deal with this Rams offense? Number one, you'd like to be able to hit Kurt Warner. I don't think they have the personnel to do that up front. Number two, who matches up on Marshall Faulk? I think Allen Rossum is going to be the guy they do that with. And I think today, don't be surprised if you see 4 down linemen and 7 DBs. And I wouldn't even be surprised if you saw 3 down linemen, 1 backer, and 7 DBs. I would not be surprised to see anything. I think what they're going to do is they're trying to keep everything in front of them, force him to make mistakes.
I want to ask Michael about the difference between Marshall Faulk and Amon Green. Now, here we've got 2 guys, almost identical statistics. I think both of these guys sort of jumpstart the offense, not only running the football, but in the passing game away. And today, Lovie Smith is so concerned, he's assigning Adam Archuleta to basically follow him all over the field. But as a player, are they the same or not?
Oh, no, not at all. I think Amon Green by far is a complete back. He's a strong back. He keeps his legs moving. He gets the tough yards when you need them. Marshall Faulk is the most complete football player I've ever played against, I think I'll ever see. He's shifty. He can run full speed ahead, stop, and go backwards in one step. You've never seen anything out like it outside of Barry Sanders.
You know, in games like this, I really think they're simple. When you have great offense like the Rams, and if I'm Green Bay Howie, that's a smart thing. Come out, I play zone, corners, go 5 short, go 3 deep, go 2 deep. I don't care what you do. Draw back, keep it all in front of you. Because this offense that the Rams run is an impatient offense. If you're at the game today and you're having a few drinks and got to go to the bathroom, by the time you get back, could be 21 more points you miss. Keep it in front of you, make them be patient, and after a while, it just gets you. You finally got to try to sneak one in, and when that impatience is one thing that could pay off for the Packers today.
You are right. That's a very good game plan.
You know what? I want you back.
I'm trying to make up for the don't look so smart with the glasses comment.
Don't you worry about that. I'll put them back on for you. How'd I look now?
All right, folks, talking about a key player for the St. Louis Rams. You heard Michael Strahan say that Marshall Faulk is the most complete back he has played against. While Kurt Warner was a league MVP, the Rams voted Marshall Faulk their MVP. Advanced to the AFC Championship game. They are now 8-1 at home this season. And after the game, hard-hitting safety Lee Flowers said enough about the Baltimore D.
All you heard about was Baltimore defense, Baltimore defense. Let's get something clear right now. Steelers defense is #1 right now. And that's the way it is. So let's please give us our respect. We got to play New England Patriots next week. Let's go to work.
I was just whispering to you. I can't believe. I understand that, folks. I was whispering to the guy about his Pittsburgh team. He didn't want to say anything about it.
No, that's not true. I said no. Are you kidding me? I'm thrilled.
New England next week. Game today, Rams and Bears. Chris.
You know, I was in St. Louis, and there was a coach up there who told me, he said, you know, Kurt Warner's going to make it out like this isn't a special game just because this is the team that cut him earlier in his career. He said, do not be fooled. Kurt Warner wants this one very, very badly.
And, you know, don't think that Brett Favre's not tired of hearing about Kurt Warner conversely, and he's not tired about hearing about AstroTurf. And Kurt Warner is the intangible in this football game. If you take Amon Green away, Kurt Warner can't beat you. You are susceptible to being beat by Brett Favre.
Right. Yeah. I agree 100%. Simple, though. What's our favorite saying in playoff games? Special teams and turnovers. Allen Rawson, absolutely. Yeah. Run the ball, Green Bay, control the clock, make them get impatient.
If there's ever a defense that is praying that their offense does ball control, it's the Packers right now.
With all the talk about X's and O's, can the Rams stand to be hit?
The Rams can stand to be hit, but no one wants to get hit all game long. And that's going to be the key for the Packers. They have to pound them, make Kurt Warner move his feet, and take advantage of the matchup of Rod Jones.
Some of the best stuff
and Kabir Bajaj.
Wow, so clearly he didn't get enough time to say everything as much as he wanted to. We thank Michael Strahan very much for joining us here. Hey, folks, Rams coming out onto the field at their home. Player introductions for the game coming up between the Rams and the Bears. Pat and John are up next.
Following presentation of the National Football League.
Marshall Faulk's versatility ignites the multi-pronged Rams attack. Brett Favre is the gunslinger, hoping to lead the Packers in and out of town victoriously. A great game on tap, but up first, the national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rams and the Boeing Company ask you to please remain standing as we present the national anthem. Performing our national anthem is Billboard Magazine's top new country artist, ACM's new female vocalist of the year, a 3-time Grammy nominee, country's newest superstar, Mercury recording artist, presenting Miss Jamie O'Neal.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, yeah, and the home of the brave.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jamie O'Neal. Ladies and gentlemen, in tribute to the soldiers.
He zipped that thing in there. He put all the mustard on the block. That is a big, big play for this Packer defense.
Today, Brett Favre takes his one-man show into St. Louis, the stage belonging to football's greatest show on earth. A star-studded cast headed by MVP Kurt Warner has dazzled the NFL once again with their high-scoring extravaganza. Two of the NFL's great leading men, one starring role. You're inside the dome at America's Center in St. Louis. And believe me, it's the playoffs as the Packers come to town to face the St. Louis Rams. And as I said, John, Pat Summerall here, by the way, with John Madden. As I said, it's the playoffs. There are 5 teams left. There's nothing like it.
You know, it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, this is what it's all about when you get 2 teams here. One of them is going to go to the championship game, and we have the 2 best quarterbacks in all of football. Now we're talking playoff football.
You know, a lot of people, I think, don't give the Packers much of a chance. But I also think anytime you have Brett Favre at the controls, you have a chance.
You always have that Favre factor, and we know what he does at Lambeau Field, and sometimes they say he has trouble in domes, and he might, but it's usually the trouble with the crowd noise. So I think if they can handle that, they're going to use some silent count, they're going to use some regular count. But the other thing he has to do that has always helped him is get Ahman Green going. I know that Brett Favre has bigger games and better games when this guy here runs the ball and catches the ball. He's going to be a big part of that offense today. Now, when you talk about defense, they have to match up because the Rams have so much speed. And I think today we're going to see the Packers use some 5 defensive backs, some 6 defensive backs, and even some 7 defensive backs with Allen Rossum as a linebacker.
The Rams, when they have the ball, seem almost unstoppable. Kurt Warner, his voice seems okay. What do you think about them?
I think they're the best team in the NFL, and they're going to have their work cut out for them today because the Packers and the Brett Favre factor we talked about. But Kurt Warner, we watched him practice the other day on Friday, and he was almost perfect. He's the most accurate quarterback I think I've ever seen. And the whole practice, only 2 balls hit the ground. And he has a tool. I mean, he has the outside receivers. He can go the 3rd wide receiver, the 4 wide receivers. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to start out in attack mode. Mike Martz is that kind of coach. He's talked about using 4 wide receivers, maybe even starting the game with no huddle. Then on defense, they know what they have to do. They say, Ahman Green is the guy that we have to take away. If we can stop Ahman Green on the running and on those checkdowns, then we can concentrate on Brett Favre. It's going to be a heck of a game.
All right, John, let's go down to Ron Pitts.
Well, guys, I talked to the Packer players before the game. They have that swagger and that confidence and this borderline cockiness, and the reason why they're very upset at what's been going on all week. They're tired of hearing about how good the St. Louis Rams are. They're tired of hearing about how good Warner is and the speed and Falk. They said, listen, we've got some MVPs. We've been to the Super Bowl. We've got some experience in the playoffs. They said the Rams have to prove they can beat us. We don't have to prove we can beat the Rams. One interesting note on Brett Favre, like you were saying, John, about the noise. He came up to me before warm-up. He said, how loud is it in here? You guys have done some games in here. How loud is it? He's obviously concerned about the noise, like when he goes to Minnesota and has to deal with that pressure. As far as the Rams are concerned, I talked to Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk said, listen, we're going to come out here. We're going to try to blow them out of the water right off the bat. We're not going to hold anything back. And he said the Packers will not believe how fast we really are. Pat Summerall, I think we're going to find out how fast everybody is right now.
MVPs here today, Kurt Warner, Brett Favre 3 times, and Marshall Faulk.
That's what you call a bundle of MVPs.
One thing you might keep in mind is that the Packers have never lost a playoff game in a dome. Never. At the 6 is Rossum, and he's got a little alley. Whoa, that was close to being shot out of there like a bullet. Let's look at that Green Bay offense. Clifton, Wall, Flanagan, Rivera, and Tauscher. A good young offensive line. Schrader, Freeman wide, Green, Henderson, and Bubba Franks the tight end. First down, Green Bay at the Ram 31. The one thing particularly that Mike Martz fears about his team is their play on special teams. Everything else he thinks is in order.
And I think this thing right here, this crowd noise, has always been a problem for him indoors.
Favre back to throw, hits Bubba Franks. First down, Green Bay fumble, and the Rams have it. Amon Green hit him. They're going to say he was down, I believe.
I think so, and that's one of those calls, Pat, that's not reviewable. The official right there is pointing to the ground. And then when he points to the ground, that means that he's down by contact. Adam Archuleta comes in, make the first hit, and then you see Aeneas Williams in there second, then Tommy Polley, and the ball bounces out. But when the official rules down by contact, that is not a reviewable play.
Jeff Triplett is the referee. First down, Packers. Not a fumble. Fake to Green. Favre going to work. Another first down to Bradford. And let's have a look at the St. Louis defense. Favre out firing. Wistrom, Skanina, Brian Young, and Chidi Hanatu up front. Ollie Fletcher and Don Davis, the linebackers. In the secondary, McLean, Herring, Archuleta, and Aeneas Williams. 3 wide receivers this time for Green Bay. Favre out of the shotgun. Amon Green doesn't make it back to the line of scrimmage. Closed on by Wistrom.
You know, that's the thing about Grant Wistrom. I've always thought he's one of the better defensive ends in the league. And if you're going to run away from him, you have to block him. There are some defensive ends that you can run away from and not block. Grant Wistrom is not one of those guys. Yeah, the Packers offense is 6th in the NFL. The Rams defense is 3rd. What a job Lovie Smith has done with this Rams defense.
The Packers do not usually start fast. It takes them a while to get going, but this is Amon Green, and he is tripped up in the backfield. That is Wistrom again.
Yeah, he's made 2 big plays. One when they ran away from him, coming from behind, and this one here, he's going to get penetration. Watch Grant Wistrom there. He takes an inside move, and then they're going to try and lead block on him, but he gets down on that lead block and makes a tackle. Watch him take the inside right there. The back Henderson comes to block him, and he gets into Amon Green before he can ever get started. Grant Wistrom and Amon Green played together at Nebraska.
Dorsey Levens is behind Favre in that Green Bay short gun. And Favre is taken down by Tyoka Jackson. And the Packers will have to punt.
We're talking about the Ram defense. Tyoka Jackson is number 97. He's a guy who comes and plays an inside tackle on the pass rush. And you see that they ran a stunt. One tackle went to the left. Now watch, Jackson is going to come from the outside. You see him come all the way around on that stunt and get to Brett Favre right there.
Josh Bidwell back to punt to Dre Bly. Bidwell hangs it, and it'll hang at the 10. A nudge block first, but the Packer coverage is good. Herbert Goodman, the first man down. Not a bad start, not great certainly for Green Bay.
Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 36.
Snowed in St. Louis yesterday rather heavily. Today no snow, and doesn't make any difference anyway, does it?
No, it doesn't when you're in a dome, but how about that game last night up in New England? Now that was playing in a snowstorm.
Congratulations to the Patriots and Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft.
A tough one for the Raiders.
Yeah.
That was a tough way to lose a pretty doggone well-played football game.
Under those conditions, very well played. Warner back to throw it. Dumps it up the middle, complete. Let's look at the Ram offensive line. Pace, Newton, McCollum, Timmerman, and Rod Jones in place of Tucker. Holt, Marshall Faulk, Hodgins, Conwell, and Isaac Bruce. Kurt Warner, the leader. And you can see that little attachment.
Yeah, right down there. Right. Let me see if I can get it. Right down there, that bottom part, right there. That's the extra part to protect his vocal cords.
4 wide receivers. And Warner quickly incomplete. Torrey Holt the target. The Packer defense. Bonnie Holiday, Santana Dotson, slim down Gilbert Brown, and Cledius Hunt. Wayne Harris and Diggs the linebackers. Tyrone Williams and Mike McKenzie the corners. Sharper and Billy Jenkins, who started last week and played well against the 49ers.
And we can see we're talking about the Packers using 7 defensive backs. They're in that alignment now. Allen Rawson is a middle linebacker.
That's Isaac Bruce to the 40 and more, and a flag.
It was a late flag too, Pat. Someone piled on there at the end, but it was interesting. The Packers trying to get that matchup, 7 defensive backs. Allen Rawson ends up as a middle linebacker, and he blitzed on that play. Kurt Warner had never seen that before. I know that because they hadn't used it before.
Nobody has ever seen it.
No, he read it perfectly, though.
Against the Rams.
I think that's going to be one from the spot. I think that was after he was down.
After he made the first down.
Of course, we do have a triplet game today.
And what might that mean?
Personal foul, number 60, offense in continuing action.
Rod Jones.
15 yards, still 3rd down.
Arrived a little late.
Well, he's saying it was continuing action, that the ball wasn't down yet. There's Rossum's number 20 coming on the blitz. Kurt Warner reads it perfectly. And you can see right here at the end of the play, Rod Jones is number 60. You see it, he makes the hit. Now, I don't know that was continuing action. I think that was after the play.
So it's 3rd down.
See, here it is right there. There's Rod Jones starting at right tackle. And they say that he made that hit after. But it was after, then it wasn't continuing action.
So the Rams take a timeout. 3rd about a yard is what we have left.
Brett Favre had a pretty good start. Then Grant Whisper made a couple of big plays. We were talking about the Rams, how Mike Martz loves to attack, and attacking to him means 4 wide receivers. That's what he just went into. The Packers are going to counter with the 7 defensive backs.
That was fun.
Back in St. Louis. The Packers nothing. The Rams nothing. The Rams first possession. It's 3rd and 2.
And Gilbert Brown's in, so the Packers are expecting a run here.
They're not going to get it, but they're not going to get the first down either.
And Mike McKenzie was playing pass, so it was a pretty good combination. If you ran, you had big Gilbert Brown in the middle, and then out here you have Mike McKenzie. You watch, they start on the inside move. Torrey Holt starts to go in the inside. Mike McKenzie goes in the inside with him, and then back to the outside. Here's big Gilbert Brown. He's in there to play the run. Now, if they don't run, he is going to give you a strong, I'm talking about a strong push up the middle. Not a big pass rusher. In fact, last week against the 49ers, I think he got his first sack since 1997.
He did. Kick is short. Rossum comes up, lets it bounce, and gets away from it. And it takes a Ram roll. Still for the Rams. It's their home stadium.
That's fun when you do that and you're covering a punt. You get to walk down with the ball and stand over like that. You know nothing's going to happen.
Nothing in the first. The city's been in a frenzy ever since we've been here on Thursday.
And look at this stadium and the frenzy that they've been in. And they were in a frenzy like this an hour before the game.
As soon as they let them in.
Yep, the Packers are in 4 wide receivers themselves now.
Favre dropping it deep. Raider was the target. Incomplete. That was a pretty good throw.
Well, you know, one thing we talked about the Rams, and they're going to come out and attack, and Mike March and doing those kinds of things. And I think the Packers have that same idea. If that's what they're going to do, we're going to do it too. So they're starting on the first down using 4 wide receivers, going deep to Bill Schrader here. Great job by Dre Bly, who's the nickelback, getting that left hand in there.
Just at the last minute, that looked like it could have been caught until we looked at it from another angle, and then he had that hand in there.
Dre Bly's the nickelback.
Favre picked off. Aeneas Williams, touchdown.
Brett Favre didn't read that one. Aeneas Williams was just sitting there, and Brett Favre threw it right to him.
He thought, I believe, that Schrader was going to hook up.
Well, you look right here, and you see right there as he just keeps going. Schrader just kept going. Aeneas Williams was playing zone. Aeneas Williams let Schrader go by and was just sitting there in the zone, the underneath zone, and Brett Favre just threw it right to him.
Miscommunication, maybe.
Right, if he threw it like that, he would have to think that Schrader was running a slant.
Right. Extra point is good, and the Rams go on top 7-0. St. Louis draws first blood.
Here we see that the Piston Strokes are brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. By Charles Schwab, expert advice that's objective, uncomplicated, and not driven by commission. By DirecTV, the #1 satellite entertainment provider. And by Radio Shack. You've got questions, we've got answers.
You know, it'd be easy to say that Brett Favre was right and Bill Schrader was wrong, but I don't know. Here's Williams here. Now watch Kim Herring. When he comes up, that's going to be man-to-man down here. You see, now Bill Schrader keeps going up. And you see when Aeneas Williams stopped, if Brett Favre would have thrown it up, that could have been a touchdown for the Packers.
Rossum to the 25. Aeneas Williams, that was his 4th postseason interception. Is only his 3rd playoff game.
You know, and again, that's one of the big acquisitions in the offseason for the Rams. Is we talk about Lovie Smith came in here as a defensive coordinator. 8 new players for this defense, but Aeneas Williams, I think, is a special new guy that they brought in because he's bringing them something special. I mean, you watch him practice, Pat, and when he intercepts a pass, every time he intercepts a pass, he takes it all the way. He'll run it 80 and 90, 100 yards.
Here's Amon Green from behind, slammed down. We ask Aeneas Williams what the Rams need to do to slow down Brett Favre.
Oh, one of the things you have to be extremely disciplined, and you have to catch the ball when you have opportunities. Because he's going to throw it. He's extremely confident. Confident with good reason, because I believe he can make any throw on the field. So when we have opportunities as a secondary linebackers, anyone around the ball, we have to make the catch. And I think if we do that, we'll have some success.
When you're disciplined, do you gamble? I think he took a gamble, and it worked. And the pass is complete.
And the other thing he says that Brett Favre is going to throw you some.
Yep.
And when he does throw it to you, you have to catch it. And when you do catch it, you have to make a play out of it. And Aeneas Williams did all those things.
Antonio Freeman with that last reception from Favre.
But as you said, I don't know that he didn't gamble, though, because when Kim Herring came up in a blitz, Aeneas Williams had to play man-to-man on Schrader. Schrader got by him, and there was no one in behind Aeneas Williams.
3rd and 2 for Green Bay at their own 32. 7:45 left to play in the first quarter. Henderson moves in motion. Favre. That's to Bradford coming across from the other side. Bradford signaled first down. The officials haven't yet.
And I think that that's really helped this Green Bay Packer offense when they started getting Corey Bradford in there more, Donald Driver in there more. It gave them some more speed. And that's the thing that you always felt that the Packers kind of lacked and the Rams, had. But when you put Driver and Corey Bradford in there, they can darn near match the Rams' speed.
Well, Brett Favre said last night one thing about them, they can both haul tail, although he's a little stronger than that. That's Freeman. He moves it up to about the 45.
Well, when you're going to throw an up or a deep pattern, you want a guy that could haul tail. And then if you're going to throw these kind of things, these possession-type passes, you want the big guy like Antonio Freeman that'll use his body, find a spot for you in the middle of the zone, show you his numbers. Those are all the things that Antonio Freeman has been doing for a long time.
Second and about a yard. Packers at their own 45 now. Hits back to Amon Green. Patiently waits, and I don't think he got enough.
And the thing is, look at all those Rams around the tackle. That's the biggest thing that they do. I mean, that's the thing that Lovie Smith and Bill Kohler brought in, is these guys really pursue and gang tackle. I mean, they have good speed, but watch all these blue jerseys getting to the ball. I mean, you have someone outside, you have someone inside, you have someone at the point, and they just all get there at the same time.
They come after you.
Look at the job they've done and the improvement this season from last season. Again, a new coordinator, a new defensive line coach, 8 new defensive starters.
Green. He's got a first down, I think. Fumble. The ball bounced back inside, inbounds, and Green makes the stop. He was out of bounds, but the ball wasn't, I don't think.
That's the thing with Amon Green. They always said, he holds the ball in his left hand all the time. He is a fumbler. Gets a good block right there by Mike Wall. Now he's on. See, he doesn't switch the ball. That ball should be put in his right hand. Then that can't happen. He has a bad right wrist and one finger is bad, so he keeps the ball in his left hand, which now is his inside hand. Most backs will switch it to their outside so that the ball, if that were to happen, that ball would have gone out of bounds.
That was Ken Herring who made the hit that knocked it loose.
Right, but because it's in his inside hand, then you can get that fumble.
Diggs all over Kurt Warner just as he turned around.
Niall Diggs is going to come from the outside. You see him right here, and he's coming on a blitz. The tight end blocks down, the tackle blocks down. No one blocks Niall Diggs. And you see what Cletius Hunt did? Niall Diggs had him hanging up there, and Cletius Hunt came in and finished him out.
2nd and 19. That's about the only team in the NFL that doesn't mind 2nd and 19.
See, and the Packers are in their 7 defensive back look. They call that dollar.
Here's Warner. It hit Santana Dotson.
Santana Dotson thought he had a touchdown.
Didn't he? He juggled it a minute.
That's the thing that they try and do, those defensive linemen. If you don't get to the quarterback, then you want to get your hands up or get your body in his passing lanes. And that's exactly what Santana Dotson did on that play.
So it's 3rd and 19.
Like one of the guys was saying, one thing he can't do, he can't throw through bodies.
I think that's true.
But Brett Favre may be able to throw through bodies.
I think he might have penetrated a couple. Fumble. Intercepted by the Packers, Darren Sharper.
Yep. Don't celebrate too much. You're down 7-0. It's a big game, but Sharper plays this very well. You see, because he has help deep, he's going to play underneath. You see, he's playing in a little trail position. Because he has help over the top, he can do that. He can play underneath And that underneath or trail position right there will also put you in interception position.
Pass intended for Isaac Bruce, but the Packers take over at their own 35. 4:44 left in the first, 7-0 St. Louis.
And that wasn't a sharp read by Kurt Warner anywhere.
Quick count. Corey Bradford, and Favre got it out there to him. Trey Bly just made the save.
Yeah, I think the defense is still moving around. Watch them. They're not ready. Brett Favre comes up on a quick count.
Yep.
He didn't even take a 3-step drop. You see him?
There's
no one out there at Corey Bradford.
Flipped it.
Yeah, Trey Bly finally got out there. That's the thing that Brett Favre gives you. If you get someone out there and you don't put a defender out there, he's going to just take the ball and throw it out to him right now.
That was very nearly a touchdown. Here's Donald Driver. Around the corner, Driver out of bounds.
You know, I think there's greatest show on earth for the Rams. I think kind of upset the Packers a little, and they're trying to show, you know, you want greatest show on earth, you want greatest show on turf, we'll show you something. If you don't cover, our guys get you. And they got Grant Wistrom on that time. You know, I was talking earlier about how Wistrom will chase, how he will chase and catch when the ball goes away. Watch Corey Bradford. Anytime you're going to make a play on a reverse, a wide receiver has to make the block, or someone does. That time, Corey Bradford made it.
3 straight weeks they've been successful with that play.
But they caught Grant Wistrom chasing.
Favre batted down, deflected.
Incomplete.
That's the thing that they're trying to do. When we talk to Lovie Smith, one of the biggest things that he worries about is that check down or check through to Amon Green. And he says that he wants to get those tackles in that lane because Amon Green on a check through goes about 5 yards, no deeper than 5 yards, and just stands 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So in order to drop your linebackers, you need a little help from your rush defensive linemen.
2nd and 10. Ram blitz coming. Amon Green gets nothing. Tyoka Jackson again.
That's always a tough thing when Amon Green runs to his right if he's going to get in traffic because, again, of holding that ball in his left hand. I talked to him last night about it, and he said that he's going to start in minicamp. I mean, it's not something you can start doing now in the playoffs. He said, but in minicamp, he's going to change and start carrying the ball in his right hand when he goes to the right side.
Tyrone Davis now as the Packers are going to go with 2 tight ends.
Green Bay has the ball control and St. Louis has the score.
On 3rd down, Favre calls a timeout. You need to be reminded Super Bowl Sunday is just 2 weeks away. Catch U2 performing live on the E-Trade Super Bowl 36 halftime show right here on Fox.
The big thing who are going to be the 2 teams that are performing live. Well, here's the guy that got a block, Leonard Little, right there.
Favre's pass is complete to Freeman, and Freeman jumps. They haven't called it touch. Now it's a touchdown.
Just saying Leonard Little is the best pass rusher on the Rams, and you say you got him blocked, and they dropped him. They ran a zone dog. And you see Brett Favre reads it perfectly, but gets it out here to Antonio Freeman. He makes a little dip to the inside, and then he just sees the end zone and gives a dive right through it.
Number 8, Ryan Longwell gets the point.
That was a pretty good drive by the Packers.
I'll tell you it was. Ryan Longwell for the extra point. And it is good. And in St. Louis, it's 7-7. 2:35 left to play in the first quarter. And the Packers didn't come here to take a nap. As good a relationship as passer and receiver can have with Brett Favre. They know where the ball's coming, and Favre knows where he's going.
And, you know, and he's kind of coming into his own again, you know, at the end of the season. He really didn't have a great year this year. And remember last year he had a bad ending. He was suspended the last game of the season and then had a start, kind of a slow start this year, had some injuries. But in the last 4 or 5 games, he's looked like the old Antonio Freeman.
Yo Murphy. We asked Antonio Freeman about the arm strength of Brett Favre.
I think the last pass I caught last week in the first round of the playoffs, crossing route, as soon as I cleared the guy, once I cleared him, I heard the ball, and I located it because I heard it, caught it, big gain, and the guy's got a cannon. There's no sense of me ever buying another ring or wearing my Super Bowl ring. He's dislocated probably every finger except for my thumb.
He does throw it as hard as anybody ever has.
And if Antonio Freeman keeps playing with Brett Favre, Brett will get the thumb.
Warner gets to Falk. Digging for a little extra, doesn't get much.
And that's the first time that Marshall Falk carried the ball. One of the things I think the Rams try and do is they try and come out attacking, throwing the ball, 4 wide receivers moving it around, and then kind of loosen up a defense before they go to the running and Marshall Falk. And I don't know that they've loosened up this Packer defense at all yet.
One thing the Packers don't do on defense, John, is they don't really concern themselves with who is where. They don't try to match up with the best receiver or things like that. They just stay where they are.
Yeah, they keep their 2 corners where they are.
Warner throws it, bounces it.
You know, that last play, if we look what happened, look, here's Corey Bradford on that last drive out here. Look at this Ram defense, are all in here. Now, Brett Favre, you can see that he's looking out there. He sees him. There's no one out there. He knows, I got to get the ball out there to Corey Bradford. And Dre Bly just saved that one from being a touchdown. But that was kind of the play that got the Packers started on that last touchdown drive.
3rd and 8.
Here's that 7 defensive backs.
Oz Hakeem came open, and Warner hit him.
That's the thing that they can do to you again. Oz Hakeem comes in as the 3rd wide receiver. Ricky Prohl as the 4th wide receiver. And you see, even though the Packers are using 7 defensive backs or their dollar package, they're still playing zone. Oz Hakeem just found that hole in the zone and stayed there.
They don't look that comfortable in that 7 defensive backs.
Well, they've never used it before.
Right. 1st and 10 to Green Bay 49. The handoff is to Marshall Falk. And I don't know if you're going to get him or not. To the 11. Baju finally brought him down.
And that's the thing to do against the dollar. You just wonder when they're going to catch it, when they're going to see it, and they see that now if you got 7 defensive backs in there, that means that you only have 4 other players, defensive linemen. You have no linebackers. You have smaller guys. We'll get them blocked. We'll make a move on some, and then we'll get a big play in the running game. That's what you do. If they play base defense when you're the Rams, that's when you want to throw the ball. If they give you nickel, you can run it or throw it. But when they give you 7 defensive backs, you have to run.
1st and 10 at the 11. That's Falk again. To the 4 and out of bounds.
This is where the Rams are so explosive. You know, you think of them explosive with the receivers and Kurt Warner throwing the ball, and then you forget that this guy right here lines up here, and he gets a lead and a pull, and he can either run off his pulling guard right there or off his lead of the fullback. That time he chose his pulling guard.
That's the end of the first quarter. With the score, the Rams 7, the Packers 7. This Fox NFL Divisional Playoff Special from St. Louis will continue after these messages. Pat Summerall, John Madden, we're at the America's Center in St. Louis, 7-7 tie with the Rams. Have it 2nd and 3 inside the 5 of the Packers.
3 wide receivers out on this side.
Touchdown. Torrey Holt.
Right, he made that look easy. As I said, 3 wide receivers to the right, and then here's Torrey Holt to the left. And he just comes right on a slant right now. He didn't do anything at all to Tyrone Williams. He didn't give him a move to the inside. He didn't do anything to hold him. Again, the overload was to the right. Torrey Holt was over there all by himself on Tyrone Williams, and he saw that, and he just ran right inside, and Kurt Warner hit him perfectly.
Jeff Wilkins for the extra point.
That Kurt Warner made it look easy, didn't he?
He sure did. 14-7. 6 plays, 66 yards. 2 minutes, 37 seconds, 4 yards to hold.
On Fox are brought to you by Mazda, who invite you to discover the sheer joy of motion. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. By Computer Associates, the software that manages e-business. And by Beechwood Aged Budweiser, with a crisp, clean, and refreshing taste known only to the king of beers.
Hard, sticky snow in St. Louis yesterday. And right now their Rams lead 14-7 over Green Bay. Allen Rossum back deep. Jeff Wilkins to kick it off. Rossum will have a chance. Not much of a chance. Bang backwards from the 20, but that's about where they'll mark it.
Let's watch that touchdown again. I said there's 3 wide receivers out here to the right. Here's Torrey Holt here, but look how valuable that Marshall Faulk is. By him being here, that holds his safety, and now Torrey Holt can just do this. I mean, Marshall Faulk can give it all to you, but because he's there, you see that safety waiting and look for Marshall Faulk, and that lets Torrey Holt just get wide open on that slant on Tyrone Williams.
First down, Packers at their own 21. 22 make it. And Favre goes to work. Killamon Green. About 8.
You know, there's Torrey Holt there, Pat. We're watching him in the pregame, and these guys are so fun to watch. I mean, they're fun to watch when they play, and they're fun to watch in the pregame warm-up. I mean, you see that? I mean, he caught that thing one-handed behind
Backhanded,
him.
yeah.
And then even that pass was a little behind him. Usually Kurt Warner, he hits him right in stride. That one was kind of on his back shoulder. Wasn't that catch in the pregame warm-up?
Seconds and short. Come on, Green. First down, Green Bay.
Adam Archuleta is in there. That's the rookie strong safety. We talk about, guys that have helped this Ram defense, and Adam Archuleta is one of those guys. This guy right here that's going in now is also one. We talk about Gilbert Brown being the nose tackle for the Green Bay Packers and the run stopper. The guy on that side is Jeff Scanina, who is a run stopper for the Rams.
First and 10, Green Bay. Here's Favre back. Pass is picked off. Intended for Freeman. That's Kim Herring. And Herring heads down the sideline. Herring out of bounds at about the 11. Inside the 10 is where they mark it. Kim Herring.
Kim Herring came over from the Ravens in the offseason. This whole season, he only had 1 interception. In fact, Lovie Smith was telling us the other day that he told Kim Herring, Grant Wistrom, a defensive lineman, has twice as many interceptions as you. You better start getting some. And he did right there. He watched Brett Favre all the way. He was just playing center field, just playing in a zone, and he just watched his eyes and got to jump in the ball.
45-yard return to the 4-yard line where they finally knocked him out of bounds.
And that's what the Rams defense we're talking about, that Brett Favre will throw you some. When he does, you have to catch him.
First and goal at the 4. They're still at the 4. Marshall Faulk
You know, Marshall Faulk is really something special. I mean, they get into that MVP. Who's the MVP? Is it Kurt Warner? Is it Marshall Faulk? Is it Brett Favre? We're just seeing some great players here today. And I don't know. You know, someone asked me in the history of the game. In fact, Ernie Zampese, the passing guru and from the Dallas Cowboys, was here, and we're talking about all-time great players, and wondered if there was ever any back that you would take over Marshall Faulk. Ernie said no.
Touchdown, James Hodgins, the fullback. You don't hear that name much, but he puts up 6.
He's the blocker, and when they get down in close, the Rams usually do that. It'll usually be someone like a Jeff Robinson, the backup tight end, or it'll be someone like James Hodgins. This is what they were practicing the other day. You hardly ever see Hodgins catch a ball or even run a ball, but in practice I saw him hit this about 3 or 4 times on Friday.
Jeff Wilkins for the extra point.
They get you down there and they get those blockers in there, make you think run, then they throw to one of their blockers.
21-7.
You throw an interception, they'll take care of it.
The greatest show on turf.
This is Marshall Faulk of the St. Louis Rams. We'd like to welcome all servicemen and women who are watching today's game around the world through the facilities of the American Forces Radio and Television Network. We appreciate and thank you for everything you do for our country.
Marshall Faulk does a lot of things for this football team.
And he's a very unselfish player.
Yes, he is.
We were talking about that with him the other day, that because it doesn't make any difference if he gets 5 or 10 or 15 or 30 carries or how many catches. It's about winning and losing.
Rossum was at the 5. Flag on the play. A flag on the play. Rossum's gone. Forget about that. But the flag is back at the 30.
Well, that's the area, that Mike Sherman was talking about. You see, we talk about offense and defense. Special teams can be big in this game, and it was big on that play, but there's going to be a penalty and bring it all back. That is tough.
Holding, 51, return team, 10-yard penalty. It'll be a first down.
Torrance Marshall.
Right there, and you see Marshall does. I mean, he has a hold and a grab, and he held on. I mean, you can get in those positions. But you have to let go. And he had him, and he held on. And there's a point Rossum thinks he has a touchdown, and there's a point you realize that it was all for naught. Not being about 17 yards.
So the Packers, instead of having 7, will start at about the 17. Their own. 2 tight end setup. Favre. Back to Green. Good tackle.
This is one of the things that the Packers do now. Is what they do is they take Earl Dotson and bring him into right tackle and move their right tackle, Mark Tauscher, to right guard. That's to give Marco Rivera a little break.
That's London Fletcher who made that good tackle.
Saw London Fletcher last night at the hotel. The Rams stayed at the same hotel that we did. In fact, it's the first time that they've ever stayed at a hotel the night before the game. I saw him about 10 o'clock last night. He was really fired up.
Favre high to Bradford. Let's go down to Ron Pitts.
Well, guys, the Rams have been taking care of business in terms of turnovers, but the problem now is stopping the run. Jeff Scanina, their starting defensive tackle, he's out of the game. He hyperextended his elbow. They went in to get it x-rayed. His return right now is questionable. Pat?
Thanks, Ron.
One of the things you can do, Pat, I was just thinking what Ron was saying. One of the things you can do is get way ahead and take them out of their run game anyway, and then you're not going to miss Scanina.
Well, that appears to be nearing what you're talking about. It's 21-7. They don't have to throw it every down, but almost every down. Screen pass. Dorsey Levens. And Levens will get the Packers a first down. Aeneas Williams brought him down.
You know, they do such a good job, the Packers do, of throwing the ball to their running backs. Here it's Dorsey Levens is on a screen. You see he starts up like he's going inside, then comes to the outside, waits for his blockers. In fact, the way he waited for his blockers, he stumbled a little and got them in front of him so he could get a first down. But the Green Bay Packers, in throwing to Amon Green and Dorsey Levens, screens and those checkdowns, they do that as well as anyone.
2 tight ends set up this time for Green Bay. Amon Green, not much. The Rams have kept him in check, and that's one of the keys to the Packer attack.
We just got word that William Henderson, the starting fullback, the only fullback on the Packers roster, injured his left ankle. You can see it right there. They're going to retape it and see how he is. But he's the blocking back. So now now they have to go with Amon Green and Dorsey Levens. See, Dorsey Levens, Amon Green. Dorsey Levens would be the fullback in this situation.
The shotgun setup, the fake, and down goes far. Got rid of it on the way down. They're saying now they blew the whistle. He threw it with both hands to Amon Green, and he was about to set sail.
I think that whistle came a little late, though. He had already lateraled it when they whistled it. But that's Brett Favre. You're going to see Little gets there, then Moran gets there, and he throws the ball. And there's not a whistle until later. I don't know about that. There was no whistle. Maybe he was down, but the whistle didn't blow.
Oh, he wasn't down. How'd he throw it if he was down?
I mean, maybe they didn't blow the whistle is what I'm saying.
Levens outside the 35, not enough for the first.
I think when you're an official in a Brett Favre game, you have to have a slow whistle. And then when you have a slow whistle and he does something like that, you have to let the play go.
Josh Bidwell back. Dre Bly deep for the Rams.
It's not Oz Hakeem anymore, is it? That was something that Oz Hakeem, every time the ball was in the air, every Ram fan's knee started to knock. I think sometimes Oz Hakeem's knee started to knock.
That was about 6 weeks ago. Signals fair catch, makes it. The Rams will start to work from their own 18. 8:54 left to play. Biggest day kicks off with a star-studded Super Bowl pregame spectacular featuring live performances by No Doubt, Paul McCartney, Mark Anthony, with Mary J. Blige, Bare Naked Ladies, and a very special tribute to America featuring the Boston Pops. Join us for Super Bowl 36, Sunday, February 3rd at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, right here on Fox. Batted down.
You know, let's look at that play again, that Brett Favre play, and this is normal with sound, and I think they ruled, like I said, down or in the grass, but they didn't blow the whistle. Listen. See how late the whistle came? If he was in the grass, then the play had to be over, so they should have blown the whistle.
In the grass, it's gone.
Yeah, but that's what I think they ruled when they brought it back. They said that he was in the grass.
But that's gone from the book. There is no such thing.
They have to have a reason, though.
Intended for Isaac Bruce, a little bit high, and it's incomplete.
That Favre talking on the phone to the coaches upstairs. What you like to do as a quarterback and a coach a lot of times is you see stuff on the field and you think this is what it's looking like, but upstairs they get a different look at it. So you're checking with them. This is what I see. Is this also what you see? Alan Rossum in here again is the middle linebacker. That means that they're in the dollar package.
Here's Warner, steps up, throws deep. Incomplete. Intended for Torrey Holt.
Torrey hold that double coverage. I mean, he was inside, outside, both sides. And you just see the double coverage. I mean, they really did have him covered. They had him covered in front, behind, up above. But Kurt Warner has so much confidence in his receivers, and so much confidence in his own arm that he will throw into double coverage.
Yeah, I know you've heard the story many times, and so have most of our viewers. But just imagine you were the Packers, and Brett Favre was the front-running quarterback. Ty Detmer was behind him. Mark Brunell was behind him. And behind him was Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, and when he was there, Brett Favre nicknamed him Pop, after Pop Warner.
Yeah. There's a...
You can't wait for that. And did you see that? There was even a manhole cover there.
Yes, I did.
We have a manhole. Yeah, part of the All-Madden team this year is going to be a manhole. Part of the All-Madden team, maybe should be this Jeff Scanina there.
Well, except he couldn't get through that manhole.
Well, yeah, because he had. You ever see his legs? I mean, he has the biggest legs, and they go all the way down. In fact,
most legs go all the way down.
No, but I mean, the bigness goes all the way down. He has the biggest cankles in the world. You see that area between your calf and your ankle?
Cankles?
That's called cankle. And he has the biggest cankles in the world. No one has bigger cankles, I'll guarantee you, in the whole world than Jeff Scanina. And that's where you get your power. I mean, when you push off with your cankle.
We got a new one for the book. This guy's got a 38 cankle. Favre scrambles and throws and gets rid of it. Let's go down to Ron Pitts.
Well, guys, as you can see, Kurt Warner hasn't been his usual self today. One reason for that, early in the first quarter, his back tightened up on him. Now, he didn't take a hit or anything. It just got tight. Right now, they've got a heat pack on the back, and they're trying to loosen him up a little bit, but it has started to show out there on the field. We'll keep a close eye on it. Pat?
All right, Ron, thank you. We saw him put a heating pad down the back of his pants when he comes off on the sideline. 4 wide receivers for Green Bay here. And Favre drops and pumps and throws to Amon Green. That's the check down that Lovie Smith was telling us about the other day that he feared so much.
And I think that worries him more than anything. Watch Amon Green, the way he does it. You see, he just comes here and goes no deeper, he says, than 5 yards. And the key to that is exactly what London Fletcher did. You're going to get it. You can't jump that thing before 5 yards. You drop in your zone, and when he catches it, you come up and make the tackle.
And did you see him wrap his arms around?
London Fletcher is a very, very good tackler.
Here's Favre. And he's going to run. No, he's going to throw, and he does. Schrader. And Schrader gets out of bounds.
That's Bill Schrader's first catch, and that's the thing that Brett Favre does so well, Pat. Like you said, he's going to run. You see, he makes you think that he's going to run, and then he's always wanting to throw. Even though he looks like he's going to run, he still looks to throw all the way until he gets to the line of scrimmage. That time he found Bill Schrader for the first time in the day.
One of the first things he'll tell you when you talk to him is, I'm not a runner.
Oh, and then he'll tell you how old he is and all this stuff. I'm getting old. I can't do this anymore. Brett Favre has never looked old.
That's Amon Green, and he's got nothing. Rams have really done a good job containing him.
Yeah, and again, it's Grant Wistrom. And, and he's so good, at that when the ball goes away. We talked about that earlier, that if you're going to run inside, here's Grant Wistrom here. If you're going to run away, you better get him blocked. Now, you see the Packers tried to block him with Bubba Franks, but Grant Wistrom is so quick that Bubba Franks couldn't get to him. Because you have to do what? You have to get your head in front. He didn't get his head in front.
Out of the shotgun. Favre stepping up, and throwing. Got Amon Green wide open on the sideline, and he's inside the 20.
Yeah, we talk about Kurt Warner and how he could throw with accuracy. No one could throw with more velocity than Brett Favre. He starts to run again here, and again, you can see Amon Green just waiting, just stopping, knowing that the longer he goes, the deeper the defense is going to get. See, he just runs right out of that group and just makes the throw on the run. He can make the throw where his feet are in any position.
First down, Green Bay at the Ram 18. Favre dumps it over to Amon Green. Half hook shot from Favre to Green.
Yep, and Adam Archuleta's there to make the tackle, and that's what they like about the rookie. But watch the way he throws it. This is like a hook shot. I mean, he just goes over the top. He gets it to Amon Green. Now again, Amon Green is going to catch those things, but you have to tackle him right there. London Fletcher did a couple plays ago. Adam Archuleta did on this play right here.
Maybe he got a half a yard.
That's because of good tackling.
Schrader hastens in motion, and Favre drops the throw. Incomplete. Looking for Amon Green.
You can see the pressure that they've been putting on Brett Favre. He's been sacked 2 times, hit 4 times, hurried 3 times, and intercepted twice. And again, most of those pressures are coming when he's in the shotgun because they really are pressuring him in that formation.
Big 3rd and 9 coming up. That's Lovie Smith, who's put this.
Lovie Smith doesn't blitz a lot, but when you get inside the 20, this is an area that he does like to blitz.
They don't appear to be coming.
Nope.
Nope. And Favre fires to Freeman. He dives, and he's a little bit shy of a first down.
In fact, they only rushed 3. They dropped Tyoka Jackson out, and what they do is rush 3, and they drop a tackle out to take care of that check down.
Here comes the Green Bay field goal team.
And watch 97 right here. You see, he's dropping in that area where if there were a check down, it would have been in that area. Then the rest of the defense can play without worrying about it.
Ryan Longwell will give it a shot from 28 yards out. And it's 21-10 Rams. Get complete playoff and Super Bowl coverage at the official source, superbowl.com, or America Online, keyword superbowl.com.
And who's going to be in the Super Bowl? If the Rams win, they'll play the Eagles here next week. If the Green Bay Packers win, they will play Philadelphia next week in Philadelphia.
Pittsburgh beat Baltimore earlier, and New England in overtime beat the Raiders last night.
Right, and Philadelphia beat Chicago yesterday, and congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles, Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb, and the whole Eagle group. You can see William Henderson going. They're probably going to x-ray it now. The first thing they tried to do was tape it, and you can see that didn't work. They took the tape off. Now they're taking him in, and I'm sure they're taking him in to x-ray it.
He's been sort of a guy you never hear about because he's never hurt. He doesn't carry the ball much. He doesn't catch many passes.
No, all he does is block. You don't talk as much about the blockers as you do the guys they're blocking for.
Yo Murphy at the 30.
Yo Murphy on the return. Tackled by Williams.
You can see here's Green Bay's problem. That first one, a misread. Brett Favre throws it right to Aeneas Williams. And there's a fumble by Amon Green. And there's another interception by Kim Herring. And, turnovers are something that, the Rams have a problem with, too, giving up turnovers. And you can't talk a lot about it. You can't say, okay, we have to go. We can't have any turnover. Like telling a pitcher, don't walk the guy. Well, heck, he's going to walk the guy.
Here's Warner. Pass complete. Torrey Holt.
Warner's back didn't look like it was bothering him on that one. I mean, that's the way he looked in practice the other day where, he throws not to his receiver, but to where his receiver's going. He throws to a spot. And he threw it perfectly to that spot that Torrey Holt was going to.
Move it up to the 48-yard line, 1st and 10. 3:35 left to play in the first half. 18-yard gain on that last completion. Here's Warner. Looking for someplace to go and fires it caught up the middle by Marshall Faulk. He just got rid of it as the Packers were converging.
You know, he took his fullback, James Hodgins, and put him in motion, and he ended up as the outside receiver on the left side, and I think he was trying to throw to him. Well, he looked out, and Hodgins didn't do much. He ran a little 3-yard hook, and I think Kurt Warner waited and waited, and said, "The heck with him! I'm going to find my 28."
He might not have known where he was. Here's Faulk. A yard, maybe. Nate Wayne made the stop.
Marshall Faulk is fun to watch because he has so much patience, and that's what you have to have. You see, when you're pulling linemen and you're getting lead, you have to have patience to let that stuff in front of you develop. And then after your patience, it has to be followed by a good burst. Marshall Faulk has that combination.
You know, that's one of the hardest things to teach a running back, that you don't have to run just as fast as you can go and get out.
Yeah, and the ones that can't play do that.
Yeah. Here's Warner. Wide open is the tight end, Jeff Robinson.
This guy is amazing. Yep. Jeff Robinson was a defensive lineman who they moved to long snapper, who they moved to offense and tight end. And every time we do a game, Jeff Robinson comes up with a big play. There it is.
Yep. 27-yard gain, 2 minutes left in the first half.
The NFC Divisional Playoffs on Fox are brought to you.
Patriotic motif in the pregame ceremonies today here at the Dome in St. Louis.
Yeah, those ceremonies were great, weren't they?
Yeah, weren't they?
The national anthem and the presentation of the flag, and the fans were into it. In fact, before they started the national anthem, this sold-out crowd here was yelling USA, USA, and just kind of gave you goosebumps.
Kind of makes you glad where you live, doesn't it?
Sure does. And proud where you live.
1st and 10 at the Packer 13. Warner steps up, steps out, and he's going to take off. It slides at the 10. Slides at the 10.
And I know what he's saying. You know, the rule is if you slide, you give up and they can't touch you. If you go head first, then they can tackle you. And Warner's saying, I gave up. Why did he still get to hit me after I was down?
That's Nate Wayne.
Right. Good point by Kurt Warner.
Yes, it was.
Remember, the officials in the playoffs are not crews that work together. They're all-star crews. Kurt Warner, we know, had the bad throat, the vocal cord problem.
Bad back.
We saw the bad back. We saw the heating pad on the back. He also has a bad right thumb.
Ernie Conwell, the tight end, lined up in the backfield as they get it to Oz Hakeem inside the 5.
Hey, that ball comes out of there quickly, doesn't it?
Boy.
I mean, those guys run that slant like Oz Hakeem runs there, and Kurt Warner puts a ball right on him or right now. I think what he did is he got a blitz there, and that was what you call a hot receiver. When you see it coming, Kurt Warner knows there's going to be one free for him, and he better get rid of the ball before that free one gets to him.
He seems to know always where that hot read is. 3rd down. That's Ernie Conwell, the tight end who gets the carry.
Only Mike Martz. Who would get down to the goal line, be 3rd and short, and run a reverse to your tight end?
He can make a first down without scoring.
That's it. Here comes Ernie Conwell right here. Garrett Sharper makes a good tackle.
Yeah.
And from the second of contact, there was a no more forward motion by Ernie Conwell, and that stopped him for that first down, I think.
They're going to measure.
I think Darren Sharper. I think he stopped him short.
Coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris will have first half analysis, plus highlights of today's other playoff games between the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers. Also a live two-way with Hugh Douglas of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Fox Sports Ticker will keep you up to date with up to the second stats.
This is a big thing. Ernie Conwell didn't get that first down. Great tackle by Darren Sharper. But again, you know, the Rams, they're going for it here.
And you know it's going to be some kind of trick 'em.
I don't know that this will be trick 'em. I mean, I think it's going to be the play. When you get down here and you're fourth down, it has to be the play you have the most confidence in.
In their case, it could be trick 'em.
Well, yeah, but it could be a pass to a Jeff Robinson or again to a Hodgins or
a lot of movement. They were sending the tight end Jeff Robinson in to block in the middle.
And then they were going to run the ball to Marshall Faulk.
And now the field goal team comes off.
62 offense. 5-yard penalty remains fourth down.
Now that made the decision for Mike Martz, as you say, Pat. That was Adam Timmerman, the right guard. Up to offsides. Now that shouldn't happen. I mean, that shouldn't happen on short yardage, goal line, at home. I mean, all those things. There's no way that your guard should be jumping.
Well, Timmerman played for both of these teams. Maybe he was a little anxious.
And there he is. Well, he was anxious. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can't say, well, he didn't hear the count. There's no excuse for that.
Wilkins is good with the field goal, and it's 24-10.
I'll tell you, though, maybe that helped Mike Martz on that decision. Maybe he goes for it on fourth down and doesn't get it. Then you say, well, you should have kicked the field goal. When Adam Timmerman jumped off sides, that took the 5-yard penalty, and then there was no more decision for Mike Martz.
Coming up on the Visa halftime report, JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris will have first half analysis, plus highlights of today's other playoff game between the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers. A live two-way with Hugh Douglas of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Fox Sports Ticker will keep you up to date on the stats in all the playoff games.
Look at Mike Martz here and Kurt Warner talking about that last series. He's probably saying, where'd that third down call come from, Coach? That reverse to the tight end of the goal line.
I told you it was trick 'em.
I don't know. I mean, they're too good to have to use trick 'em to a tight end on the goal line when they have so many other weapons.
Yeah, but when you talk to Mike Martz, you know, you can almost smell the wood burning, because you know he's thinking about something that he forgot about, or something he's going to do in the future, or how to run practice next week or something. You know something's going on. This is Todd McBride.
Well, at halftime, they'll be talking to Hugh Douglas, and Hugh Douglas and all the Philadelphia Eagles can be watching this game, and their coaching staff, because they know they're in the game next week. They know they're in the championship game, and they're going to play the winner of this game.
Well, you remember opening Sunday of the season, we did the game between the Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles came very close to beating them.
Remember they did, and they blitzed them a lot, and they got all over Kurt Warner. Remember after last week's game, the Packers and the 49ers, one of the first things Brett Favre said, the Rams aren't a lot of problems, but one of the problems are they can score 50 points. And if you look at halftime, they're darn near halfway there, aren't they?
Can do. They just let it run out, and the score at halftime is going to be St. Louis 24. Green Bay 10. That's the end of the first half with the score of the Rams 24, the Packers 10. This Fox NFL Divisional Playoff Special will continue from St. Louis after these messages and a word from your local Fox station.
The Visa Halftime Report is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
And welcome to the Visa Halftime. The ultimate aim of the Rams to make it back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 seasons, up by 14 at the half, as we bring you back to Los Angeles for the Visa halftime full house here in Los Angeles. 3 Packer turnovers have led to 14 points by the St. Louis Rams, and they're on top right now by the score of 24-10. Fellas, your thoughts about the first half?
Just so ironic, we came in talking about Favre and Warner and Falk and all the great offensive players, and yet it has been this Rams defense that has gotten it done, a defense that's given up 200 fewer points this year than last. Lovie Smith just doing a tremendous job.
Yeah, and conversely, I think the Packers have played good on defense, too. If you had told the Packers you'd hold the St. Louis Rams to 151 yards and 1 for 5 on third down conversion, you say they were doing pretty darn well.
Yeah, you take away the interceptions by Brett, which was great coverage. That brand new single tandem, safeties in, safeties on top, takes away crossing routes and deep posts. And I tell you, great job once again, throwing a lot of love to Lovie. Single tandem. One here and you got one there.
Speaking of taking things away, the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't find out until late that Bettis was not going to be playing, but...
Well, bad reaction to a pain-killing injection. In other words, they hit a nerve. All right, Gerback looking for Shannon Sharp in the end zone. Brent Alexander set 2 interceptions on the day, then Zeraway in for a 1-yard touchdown run, his second. 2 touchdowns on the day for him. Then Jermaine Lewis making this game close and exciting. Watch out, Lynn Swan. That's 88 yards. Down the sideline it goes, JB. Touchdown, 20-10. Steelers over the Ravens. And then Cordell Stewart back. Plaxico Burress, good zone route. Getting right in between the safety, underneath the corner. Touchdown, 32-yarder. There you go, Coach. Bill Cowher, all excited. I'm excited. The city of Pittsburgh's excited. Here comes New England. 27-10 is your final. I'm excited.
Matter of fact, Pittsburgh will be hosting New England in the AFC Championship game. Chris, your thoughts about Baltimore and Pittsburgh?
Well, you know, you just watch these Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's last year we got so addicted to this Ravens defense, and then this may be the greatest of all time and all this stuff. And Pittsburgh this year may have been at least as good, maybe even better, because they're so athletic on the defensive side.
You know, I was really hoping to hear Chris mention just a little something about Cordell Stewart, but we might get to that later, right?
I'll throw Cordell some love.
You'll throw him some love. All right.
I love Cordell Stewart.
You know what? We're going to throw a little love the way of Hugh Douglas, the defensive end of the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, victorious. He will be talking with us when we come back. Up next, and the score right now at half. Green Bay trailing St. Louis 24-10, but we know Brett Favre certainly is capable of not doing as much as he did there, throwing it to Aeneas Williams, who scores. Back with more in a moment. Full house here as we get set to talk with Hugh Douglas of the Philadelphia Eagles, victorious yesterday over the Chicago Bears, and that Eagle defense did the job again. Hugh, congratulations and thanks for joining us. Look, let me get this out of the way first. There were a number of people with the Bears, of course, who thought that your hit on Jim Miller was illegal. Walk us through it, yet it was a clean one, you say.
Well, you know, basically, when a quarterback throws an interception, we're coached to get the first block that we can and try to help the man down the field to get a touchdown. And I just stood in front of Jim Miller, and he didn't move at first. And then he started moving around like he was trying to make a play. And, you know, I mean, one thing led to another.
You know what? I saw that, and you know, and it's unfortunate, but it's a great football game. We want to congratulate you. I want to ask you from an offensive standpoint, how impressed were you with Donovan McNabb and the great job he did, and how important is it as a defensive player standing on that sideline watching a guy take control like that?
Well, you know, I was very impressed with Donovan's play, but he knows that we're only going to go as far as he takes us. He knows that, you know, he has to put this team on his back and carry us into the playoffs, and he's just stepped up and he's done an outstanding job, and it was just great to see him do his thing out there, you know. He threw one interception, but it didn't faze him or anything. He just went out there and played a great game.
Now, Hugh, I know this Rams game's not over yet, but your defense was one of the few that actually had success against the St. Louis Rams. What did you guys do in that ball game to slow these guys down?
Well, you know, we do what we do every week. We just blitzed them. We just came after them, and we didn't give them the opportunity to sit back in the pocket and pick the receiver he wanted to throw it to. We just really got after him.
Hey, Hugh, we don't have much time. You could really make this a quick answer. You know, I pick a tough guy team, and you're on the tough guy team, but I had one real concern. Troy Vincent had mentioned that in a pregame speech you got so emotional that you started to cry. Is that, now, please say it ain't so. Please.
I was not crying, man.
Oh,
Troy,
that's what I wanted to hear.
Wait a minute. And now that I had the opportunity to clear this up, that was all a lie.
You had something in your eye.
No, man, it was just, you know, the beginning of the season, and I was just so happy that, you know.
Hugh, as your attorney, you don't have to say any more. Stop right there.
No, but I believe him. I believe you.
I think
Absolutely,
I'm
telling the truth.
Hey, Hugh, we think you were so fired up, we can understand the tears. Hey, Hugh, thank you very much, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck next week, Hugh.
Hey,
All right, buddy.
It would take one tough guy to get another
I want to get that out in the open.
Could not answer. I would not ask him that.
All right, folks. Well, the second half of the game coming up between the Rams and the Packers. Rams right now on top 24-10. One of the touchdowns scored by the Rams, Warner, the Torrey Holt. Chris talked with those receivers. Pat and John coming up after this.
In St. Louis, the Rams lead the Packers 24-10. And our man Ron Pitts had a chance to talk to a very animated Mike Sherman a moment ago.
Coach, a little good news, bad news. The good news is you lead in time of possession and the amount of plays run. Bad news, a lot of turnovers in that first quarter.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is the score. All these other statistics don't matter. We got to forget the first half right now. Just play a great half of football. We're capable of doing that. I believe we'll play a great half and try to get back to this ball game. We can't keep it close. We got to try to win this game, do whatever we can.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot.
Mike Sherman looked like he's ready to play.
Yeah, in fact, he didn't even shave today because he's not gonna get those cuts if you don't shave. But yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's all about the turnovers. I mean, it's about a lot of other things. I mean, this Ram team is playing very well and they have a lot of great talent. But you come in here on the road and you give them 3 turnovers in the first half, and from those 3 turnovers, the Rams take it and they score 14 points, and then that puts you in a hole. And as Mike Sherman says now, we put ourselves in the hole in that first half, and now we have to come out in the second half and dig ourselves out.
Longwell kicks it off. It's amazing how often it is about turnovers. Yo Murphy at the 5. Murphy still on his feet to the 37. John, let's have a quick look at some halftime stats.
And again, as Mike Sherman says, the biggest one is the score. I mean, that's what the whole thing is all about. But you look there, 3 turnovers, like I was just talking about the Packers. Then those 3 turnovers, they turned into 14 points. So that's a big thing. I mean, Green Bay had the ball longer and all those things, but the only important thing right now is the score. I mean, you got one more half, and the winner is going to go on and play the Philadelphia Eagles next week, and the loser's season is over.
That would, of course, be in the championship game. Big series right here for Green Bay. Warner gives to Falk, who stopped maybe a yard. Let's go down to Ron Pitts.
Guys, I talked to Mike Martz coming off at halftime. He sounded a lot like Mike Sherman, very upset at that first quarter. He said we just weren't in sync, couldn't get anything going. He was happiest about the last drive. He said we're finally in the groove we need to be. He said we got to come out and stop having the mental errors in terms of offensive line protection. He said that's where the breakdown has been coming. That's it, Pat. Back to you.
Marshall Faulk. They usually would like to have him touch the ball in the upper 20 times, but that hasn't been the case today. Here's Warner. Incomplete, through behind Isaac Bruce. 3rd and 10.
And usually if they don't get the ball to him a lot in the first half, they will in the second. Let's look at Kurt Warner's passing chart. You see, the 2 touchdowns right here and right here were both just short passes under 5 yards. He's really only completed 2 of the deeper, both about 20 yards. And then you can see his other passes and completions and incompletions are right around the 10-yard area. So I think that's part of the thing that Mike Martz is a little upset about. They haven't gotten the ball deep, and their passing game really hasn't gotten in sync where they just kept it going.
Warner with time throws it short of a first down to Oz Hakeem. And the Rams will have to punt.
You know,
that was
part
a big defensive series for the Packers.
Right, that was. And that defense was that dollar package or that 7 defensive backs that we were talking about. And I don't know that the Rams have really figured that out yet. I know that it's something that they didn't expect. They couldn't have expected because the Packers haven't used it before. Todd McBride, he's one of those 7 defensive backs. In fact, he's the nickel or the 5th one that goes in.
I think he got the wind knocked out of him.
Usually when you take a knee, it's usually worse than that. I think the wind knocked out of you, just kind of walk off the field, bent over like this.
Well, he started that way.
I know it. And then I think he probably figured there's something worse, and he took a knee. Yep.
Took an up.
Then he got up after you take a knee. But you hate to, when you get the wind knocked out of you, you just try and kind of stay up and just get off the field. And I think that's what Todd McBride was trying to do, and then there was something else and he couldn't get off.
John Baker back to punt to Allen Rossum, who broke a kickoff for a touchdown, called back by penalty.
This is going to be some kind of block.
It's a good kick by Baker. Rossum lets it bounce. Out of bounds. Near the 20-yard line. 24-10. Rams lead it.
Playoffs on Fox are brought to you by Saturn. Saturn, now with 2 distinctive car lines and an all-new SUV.
Green Bay, second half points. They lead the NFL, so don't leave us.
Well, and they have to get going too. Yeah. I mean, they were a little loggy in that first half.
That's Amon Green to the 50. Cut down at the 30 by Kim Herring.
And that is a way to get them going. We said earlier in the game that when Amon Green runs the ball well, Brett Favre usually throws it well. And this is the start that they need. It's a little lead draw. You see William Henderson make that block there that freed Amon Green through the hole. And now Amon Green can get to the outside and show that he has great speed.
That's a heck of a block by Henderson.
And what happened is the Rams defense was slanting, and they were slanting to their right, and the play went to the left. And as you said, Henderson made a real good block.
Favre. A struggle, a wrestle for the ball. I'm not sure who's got it.
Well, that's confidence in your arm. The guy that got it was Bubba Franks, yeah. and Brett Favre threw that in there. I mean, that's a tight hole. I mean, you're talking about throwing in windows and stuff, and you have to throw between linebackers. That's about as tight as you can get. Once Brett Favre throw it, and there's Tommy Polley on one side.
There's no room in there.
London Fletcher. That is the shortest, tightest window I've ever seen a quarterback get one in.
2nd and 5. Here's Green again. Nothing doing as he leaned into Adam Archuleta. Passing chart for Brett Favre.
You see again, he hit this big one. That was a Corey Bradford when the coverage was fouled up. But his again have been, here he had a 15-yarder. We're looking at the yellow ones, the complete ones, but most of them are in this area of 5 to 10 yards, a shorter passing game. And I think one thing they have to do is start exploiting the Rams defense a little deeper.
3 wide receivers. Pass was caught by Antonio Freeman, who lost the ball, and the Rams are off to the races. That's Aeneas Williams, and if he's not down, that's his second touchdown of the day. They're signaling touchdown.
I don't see any official back here saying down by contact. There was an official there, but he wasn't pointing to the ground. Well, it's just Aeneas Williams is just going to take it from him. Antonio Freeman is going down. As he's going down, Aeneas Williams just takes the ball right out of his hands.
But Aeneas Williams is down as a result of contact after he's got the ball.
You see, he just takes it right there. And then the ball doesn't hit the ground. I don't know that he does get touched after he gets control of it. You see, when he's having the contact yet, he doesn't have possession or control of the ball yet.
Green Bay has challenged.
And now he has it, and he's long gone. This is a big one for Mike Sherman because,
yes, sir.
This is the one that could put him out of this thing. And you have to challenge that. But,
oh, yeah.
You know, Aeneas Williams has come up with a lot of big plays in his career, but he sure made a couple of the biggest of his career today.
Green Bay has challenged the ruling on the field of a fumble and a recovery for a TD.
Green Bay is challenging.
He's asking Antonio Freeman. You see Mike Sherman? He's talking to Antonio Freeman there and asking him if he was down. If he were down, so he must have said yes because he said challenge it. But I think if there's any doubt in his mind, and there has to be doubt because, heck, you're playing for a championship spot.
And you're challenging.
You have to challenge. You have to challenge. Now, again, it could be, was he down before he pulled it out?
Aeneas Williams was down because of the contact, but whether he had the ball or not.
Yeah, this is the one that they're going to talk about. Was Antonio Freeman down before he pulled it out? And he wasn't, because you see his knee didn't touch.
But now he's on the ground rolling over. Aeneas Williams is.
Yeah, but you see, the first thing I think they want to see if it's a fumble or not. See, he's not down yet. Aeneas Williams, the ball is out of there before Antonio Freeman goes down. Right. So they're going to lose that one. Now, the next one you're talking about was Aeneas Williams, after he has the fumble, was he down by contact? I say he didn't get control of it till there, and there was no contact after that. I say touchdown.
I say no.
Okay, so you say, but you say it was a fumble.
I say it was a fumble.
After reviewing the play, at the recovery of the fumble, the player recovering the fumble was touched down by contact at the 31-yard line.
You were right.
Please put 11:27 on the game clock. 11:27. It will be 1st and 10. Green Bay. They are not charged a timeout.
So you were right on that, Pat, that it was the fumble, and the Rams are going to get the ball. They're not going to get the touchdown because Aeneas Williams, they say, was touched. You said was touched.
Yes.
I thought he wasn't, when he had control, but they're going to get the ball back here anyway.
That would have been a 70-yard touchdown for Aeneas Williams, his second of the day had it been allowed.
Brett Favre doesn't have that fiery look in his eyes. Did you notice that? Remember last week in the second half, he came out and he had that fire in his eyes, and I think the whole Green Bay Packer team did last week when they come out in the second half at Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
I don't get the feeling in this second half that they came out with that same fire in their eyes.
I agree with you there. Here's Kurt Warner. Throws up the middle, incomplete. High is Warner. Isaac Bruce, the intended target.
Kurt Warner injured that right thumb. That thumb on his passing hand, and I don't think that it's ever recovered. And where he has a problem, In fact, he had a bandage on it last night just to keep the swelling down. So he gets it banged all the time. Where he has a problem is where he has to grip the ball. And the longer the throw, the harder you have to grip it. And I think that last pass there, I think it just got away from him.
2nd and 10. This is Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk barrels for a first down, stopped by Tyrone Williams.
You see, that's that answer to that dollar package of that 7 defensive backs is you run them out of it. What you do is you pass a team out of their base defense, and you can see when they go, all their defensive backs here, and they have these guys are defensive backs, so they only have 4 linemen, and they have 7 defensive backs. So the thing that you want to do, get away from those linemen. Now you got your big blockers out on defensive backs because linebackers are out of the game, and the defensive backs are playing their positions.
Here's Warner dropping. And throwing deep. And it's caught by Torrey Holt at the 5.
What a play. Roll right, throw back left. I said the other day in practice, 2 balls hit the ground. This pattern, this play was one of them. Watch Torrey Holt here. He gets an inside release, and he's going back to the corner. Kurt Warner rolled to his right, bootleg to his right, and threw it all the way across the field. This is not only the depth of it, the pattern here, but it's all the way across the field.
That is a perfect throw.
Torrey Holt, that's a definition of concentration, but what Kurt Warner did by rolling right, he was rolling away from the direction that Torrey Holt was going.
This is a St. Louis timeout.
Of our audience, any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
Back at the Dome at America's Center. Todd McBride hit it off.
Todd McBride is a big loss because they have to match up with receivers, and Todd McBride is the third corner for the Packers.
Motion to both directions, and Marshall Faulk barrels into the end zone. Didn't take him long.
That's the thing. They go and they hit you with that big pass, and then they come right back and get you with a run.
It is amazing how many ways they can hit you.
You see who was out leading that play? I think one of the most underrated linemen on the Rams is Andy McCullum. And he was the center, and he pulled out, and he's the guy that was the lead blocker for Marshall Faulk.
Wilkins for the extra point. 31-10. Very impressive effort and throw by Warner, catch by Hope, run by Faulk.
Watch two offensive linemen, very agile. Talking about Andy McCullum here, Orlando Pace here. Pace is going to come here. McCullum is going to snap and lead on the play. Watch him get down there. You see Pace get out right there. He gets a kick out. Number 67, McCullum, gets a lead. Marshall Faulk gets right in his hip and gets it into the end zone. That's a heck of a thing when you can pull your tackle out, he gets that kick out like that, and then have your center snap the ball and then pull and lead.
Wilkins kickoff. Herbert Goodman doesn't make it back to the 20. 9:34 left in the third quarter. The Rams move further ahead, 31-10.
On Fox are brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 36. By Nike Shox XT. By State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And by Burger King, home of the Whopper.
Back in St. Louis, 1st and 10 Green Bay. At their own 20, Favre back to throw it. Drops it out to Amon Green. Knocked out of bounds after about a 6 or 7 yard pickup.
By 58, Don Davis.
It goes back to those turnovers, doesn't it? That they, Packers come in here and it's tough playing on the road, and then you're playing against the Rams, who are really the best team in the NFC, and I feel they're the best team in the NFL, and then you get some turnovers, then you get down, then it's an uphill battle, then you got the crowd, and this is about as tough a job as Brett Favre is ever going to have to win this thing.
31-10. Favre fakes and rolls. And going deep, and he's got Bradford, but he just overthrew him.
He did, and Aeneas Williams was the guy that was on Corey Bradford.
Bradford might have pulled something.
Well, when you run that fast, you do tend to pull things.
I would never know.
I wouldn't either. Wouldn't you like to just try it sometime? Some of these guys are running.
I've tried it.
9.2.
It doesn't take.
Someone else's body. I mean, no, you get someone else's body and you're running 9.2. And as we saw Corey Bradford, he just ran off the field too, or walked off the field. He got back to about the 20-yard line and then went off. So maybe it's just to catch a blow, but he's not in there now.
3rd and short. Freeman in motion. Favre stepped up. He's going to get the first down.
Surprised he didn't throw that, because when Brett Favre does, he usually goes to his right. In fact, up until this year, every time that he would play pass, fake, or he would scramble, it would always be to his right. So they defended him one way on that side. They contained him on that side, and they just took off on the other side. Then they started to do some things, some play pass, and Brett Favre running a little to the left this year, a little more, but every defense still plays Brett Favre for running to that side.
Here goes Freeman in motion again, and Favre drops again.
Ooh, he almost threw an interception again.
London Fletcher had one in the basket.
London Fletcher got me last night, and he says, you aren't one of those guys that think this is going to be a shootout, are you? And I didn't know what the heck to say, so I said, I don't know. And he goes, well, anyone that thinks it's going to be a shootout doesn't respect our defense. And he says, we have a plan for these Packers, and Brett Favre isn't going to do to us what he does to other teams. He said, we're not a top defense in this league for nothing. He also said he's going to throw us some, and we got to catch him, and he didn't.
He had 6 if he did.
Well, it's London Fletcher.
Favre. Flag on the play.
Where the Rams...
False start, number 30, offense.
Green moved too early.
Remains second down.
Yeah, this is where the Rams really get in that cover 2. You know, you always hear about cover 2 and the safety's deep and the corner's up. When they get ahead of you like this, look how deep these 2 deep guys are. I mean, there is no way they have the lead, and there's no way that they're going to let you get deep. I think if you're going to get deep, you had to do it a little earlier. But now, again, look at the depth of these safeties.
And a bunch of receivers on the right.
And they're getting deeper.
Favre has the ball deflected and intercepted. That's Tommy Polley, touchdown.
I'll be proud. I tried to get up the goalpost and couldn't do it. I tell you, this Ram team isn't all about offense. It's also about defense. And you look right there, Grant Wistrom got the ball up. It was a low throw because it didn't even hit the top of his hand. It looked like it hit his elbow.
Yeah.
Then it came off, and Tommy Polley was right there. Tommy Polley looked like he was trying to lateral to London Fletcher, and Fletcher ran right by him to block. Watch Grant Wistrom right there get up in the air. It was his right arm that deflected it. Then he comes back and makes a block. What a player, Grant Wistrom. Tommy Polley gets the touchdown. Grant Wistrom gets an assist.
Wilkins' extra point is good. And it's 38-10. Rams leading.
This is William Henderson of the Green Bay Packers. There are 2 things I want: a victory over the Rams and our troops serving our country to know how much we appreciate them. We salute you all. And a special hello to Staff Sergeant Lee Harris and Michael Cooper, my family.
Too many weapons? That might just be true.
And I think when you include those too many weapons now, Pat, and you talk about the Rams, you have to include defense.
And you have to include turnovers.
Yeah, but it's a defense that got the turnover.
Right.
I mean, they made those turnovers.
Line drive, kick, bounces away from Rossum, bounces into the end zone, and he'll have to down it there.
I mean, just like that last touchdown, it was Brett Favre throws the ball, Grant Wistrom hits it, knocks it up in the air. Tommy Polley gets it and runs it in for a touchdown. So they're making those things happen. I mean, Grant Wistrom is making that happen by not letting the ball get by him. And he makes so many things happen. I mean, this guy is a heck of a player.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's not in the Pro Bowl. And I think when you look at a team guy that, plays against the run, rushes a passer, I mean, heck, he has a couple interceptions this year. And he does stuff like that, like he just did on that last play. Grant Wistrom does that all the time.
Favre gives to Green. On Green, past the 25 to about the 27. When you get down to where you're eliminated if you lose, you cannot have miscues. Today, they have haunted Green Bay.
And then sometimes one leads to another.
Yeah.
You throw one right off the bat, Aeneas Williams gets it, you get down 7-0. Now you're playing uphill.
Yep.
And you force something else, and you get another one, and the snowball just starts going downhill on you.
Favre trying to throw a screen pass, I believe, but the Nobody out there to catch it. Flag on the play.
And I'll tell you, Mike Wall, his guard, number 68, didn't help him by putting his hands up in the air. Wall was out there for the screen, but he was showing, not me, not me. And I think they realized, well, if not you, there's no one else there.
I think he was trying to find Amon Green, but
I think Jeff Triplett.
He fell down.
I think he wears a brace or something, the referee Jeff Triplett, doesn't he? You look at, I mean, he looks like he has those rib pads on that quarterbacks wear. He'll get it straightened out here.
Illegally downfield on a forward pass. 58 offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
So Amon Green goes down, and it's Mike Flanagan as the center. If you just watch 58 right here, he got bumped downfield by William Henderson. But there was no receiver out there either. I mean, they could have got him for either one of those things. I used to have a center, Dave Dalby, who always went downfield on a sling.
Did he always get called?
Yeah, because he would go forward, then go out in front of him.
Favre gets it up the middle of the field to Green, who's hammered by Tommy Polley.
I think Tommy Polley's been one of the biggest surprises of this Ram defense. I mean, they came in and they thought Mark Fields was going to be that linebacker, and Mark Fields got hurt. Tommy Polley started playing. Every time they put him in there, he would make plays, and he played well. And, the thing that impresses me about this Ram defense today is when you get into big games, and you get in where you're going for championship, you have to tackle well. And the Rams have tackled very, very well.
Extremely well. You're right about that. Here's Favre dropping the throw. And throws deep to Bradford. Incomplete. Straight fly right with him. And right with it. And the Packers will have to punt.
And the Rams got him on the run now. There's Lovie Smith, who, again, we talked about what a great job he's done with this defense, but also a very good guy. We talk about their top corners and Aeneas Williams and Dexter McLean, but Dre Bly has made some plays today.
He sure has. And Dre Bly signals fair catch. And makes it at about the 33. Sunday, February 3rd, turn into Blockbuster's 19th annual All Madden show to find out who makes football's most prestigious team. Meantime, we have a flag on the play. Plus, see this year's Hershey's $1 Million Kick, where one lucky contestant will have the chance to win $1 million.
Field on a kick. 50. Number kick of the kicking team. That penalty is declined. 1st and 10 at St. Louis.
That Hershey kick is going to be in front of a live audience. Blockbuster's 19th annual All Madden show begins at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, February 3rd, here on Fox.
19th year, isn't that something?
Impossible.
Yeah, we've been looking at these players all year and pick the ones that if we had a team, those are the guys we'd want to be on. And I'll tell you one thing, we can't say who's in the team because we don't know yet, but there are a lot of players from this game that are going to be on that team.
A lot of them wearing blue, including Marshall Faulk.
28, Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, I don't know that if you would take an argument and then say who's the best player in football. Take the quarterbacks out, and I know a year or two ago I said Randy Moss, and now I say this guy here, Marshall Faulk. If you had to say the best player in all the NFL, I think with what he does and what he does for his team and how well he does everything, like catch and run and block and all those things, I think he's the best.
Not a lot of people would argue with you.
When I used to say Randy Moss, a lot of people argue with me.
Here's Marshall Faulk to the Green Bay 45. Sharper tripped him up.
Because he can do it from anywhere. Here you see him in the I formation. This is another one of those check downs or check throughs. But you see, he goes through there. He sees the linebacker, so he just gets away from the linebacker, knowing that Kurt Warner is going to throw the ball not only to him, but away from the nearest linebacker. Because, he studies all those things. He was telling us the other day that what he does is he talks to the receivers, and he learns how to run patterns from them. And you look at these things that he has done this year, and he's done those every year.
Marshall Faulk, the ball carrier.
Couple.
Tackled by Diggs and Holiday.
Marshall Faulk was telling us the other day that we're talking about unselfish. And that's the thing, and winning is part of it. But that he is such a good player, and he's not selfish. He said, because I've been on teams where I've been the guy and lost, and he said that's no fun. And with the Colts, he said Isaac Bruce went through that with the Rams, where he was a guy but they didn't win. Ricky Prohl went through that with the Cardinals. He was a guy that didn't win. He said Torrey Holt and Oz Hakeem in college, they were the guy but they didn't win. And he said it's much better to be one of a bunch and win than it is to be the guy and lose.
And you have to be unselfish. That's one of those ingredients.
And I was talking to Kurt Warner about that last night, about the unselfishness of, having that many stars and that thing. And he says, the other thing, he says, none of them ever talked to me about wanting the ball. He said, I've never had a guy say, throw me the ball or do this or do that. He said, they're all quiet. They never, the receivers, Marshall Faulk, none of them ever tell him what they want. And I think that's out of respect for Kurt Warner.
But they all want it, but they never say it.
And it also comes from winning, because I know that success breeds success.
On third down, Warner is taken down. Kabir Bajapia-Miller.
Yeah, that was a name that was pretty big early in the season. Remember, Kabir Bajapia-Miller is right here. In fact, he's right here, and you see that that he is a good pass rusher. Now, one of the things the Packers were talking about that Kurt Warner does is he holds the ball low. So when they come on the pass rush or come for the sack, they're going to go after the ball. Maybe 38-10. That may be a little too late for some of those kinds of things.
Allen Rossum back deep for the Packers.
Well, you talk about big plays and miscues and fumbles and stuff. How about Allen Rossum returned one for a touchdown that was called back because of a penalty?
Baker, his punt is fielded by Rossum, and the Rams are right there. They're going to give the Packers a long way to go.
One of the guys down there that we're talking about that's playing very well on defense is also on special teams is Tommy Polley.
Yo Murphy made that stop, but Tommy Polley has done certainly his share. 38-10 with 3:29 left in the third quarter.
Polley. That's a question. It shouldn't be a question mark, though. It shouldn't be Polley want a. I guess it is a question.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Polley. I thought it was like Polley want a cracker. Like he's saying he's Polley and he wants a cracker.
He got one. Amon Green spins for a couple.
And there, I was going to say quietly, Grant Wistrom is having a real good game. We've been talking about him from the first series, so it's not too quietly. I read a book that his mother wrote. His mother, Kathy Sassy Wistrom, wrote a book on Mrs. Wistrom's ABCs, what I learned raising 3 All-Americans. Pretty good.
Not many people can make that statement. 3 All-Americans. That's Amon Green. Packer first down. Stopped by Aeneas Williams.
Well, Grant Wistrom is, of course, playing here for the Rams, played at Nebraska. His brother was a tight end who played at Nebraska this year. And then his other brother is a high school coach. And I've talked to Grant Wistrom over the years, and he says what he wants to do when they all retire, all 3 brothers want to coach the same team.
Amon Green played at Nebraska as well.
Look again how deep these safeties are.
Favre tried to drop it over to Bubba Franks, but Bubba's hands were tied.
Well, this defense now is making Brett Favre and the Packers go for the short stuff because they have everyone deep. The linebackers are deeper, the safeties are deeper, the corners are deeper, and then again, who's the guy that makes his play? Tommy Polley. We were just talking about the all-Mats team. We may have to sneak Tommy Polley in there.
It may be revised.
They slide him in, find a place to slide him in.
Simon Green. Green gets it out for another Green Bay first down. Remember, I had a coach in college one time when you got to a situation similar to this, although we weren't there too long. Look at this group.
Yeah, there's our pregame guys.
You'll forgive me for my blunt language, but he used to say very slowly, it's time to reach down in the old gut bag.
Yeah, but I think it's
not deep enough, is it?
I don't think so, and not when you're playing the Rams at home. I think you'd have to reach in that bag a lot earlier than this.
Favre fires, caught by Brett Schrader. Made the leaping catch.
Look how deep London Fletcher is. We're talking about how they're playing their linebackers deeper, and London Fletcher being the middle linebacker, and he was about 20 yards deep. Watch him. He's going to line up right here, but he's going to end up way back here. But when he sees pass, he just turns and runs. He's about 10, 15, about 20 yards deep. Of course, it didn't do him any good because the ball went right over his head. He's only about 5'9" or 5'10".
Boy, that was one of those far twistlers.
Tight spiral.
Here's Dorsey Levens. And Dorsey chased out of bounds by Tommy Polley.
That's the thing that all these Rams players can do is they can all run. And then at the end of their run, they can all tackle well. You see, there was Dorsey Levens who was trying to get around. He was trying to get a corner, and Tommy Polley took an angle that didn't give Dorsey Levens that corner.
There was a time when that would have been tougher to do with Dorsey Levens.
Bobby Smith brought a lot to this team, and Aeneas Williams brought a lot to this team. I think how to play, how to prepare, and how to practice is what Aeneas Williams brought here.
Donald Driver, the snap from center hit Donald Driver as he passed by in motion. It was supposed to go to Favre.
That was probably one of those end around plays that Donald Driver runs so well. But you're right. He didn't get it timed, and he is supposed to be by there. He's supposed to be by Brett Favre. In fact, it wasn't end around. It was probably a pass play, and Driver just got in the way.
That's the end of the third quarter with the score. The Rams 38, the Packers 10. This Fox NFL Divisional Playoff Special from St. Louis will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Afternoon in St. Louis as their hometown Rams lead 38-10.
Because the Rams fans know that if they win today, they get another game here. They'll play a championship game next week.
Against the Philadelphia Eagles. Shuttle pass bounces on the ground. That's just an incomplete pass.
That's right. That's just an incomplete pass. You look at this thing, and you don't like to bring these things up, but it's a fact that Brett Favre on grass, his winning percentage is .786. His quarterback rating is 90.9. On artificial turf, it's .304, his winning percentage, and his quarterback rating is 78.7.
Look at his quarterback rating today.
53.1. This is not a Brett Favre day, again, because they never did get in sync. I mean, he didn't get going, and Amon Green didn't get going with the running, and that's a big thing.
4th and 6. Favre almost intercepted. Got away from Kim Herring just as well. He didn't intercept it.
Yeah, well, if you see Kim Herring, he dropped it, then he tried to kick it, and he couldn't even kick it.
14:49 left in the contest.
Are brought to you by Cadillac, official vehicle of Super Bowl 36. By Verizon Wireless, join in. By Visa, it's everywhere NFL fans want to be. And by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Be you, nothing's better. Dr. Pepper.
Back in St. Louis, where the Rams lead the Packers 38-10. The fourth quarter has just begun. The Rams have the ball at their own 33. That's Marshall Faulk. couple. The NFC Championship, if St. Louis wins, and it appears they will, Philadelphia will be here next week in the Dome. If Green Bay wins, Green Bay would go to Philadelphia and play the Eagles in the championship game back in Philadelphia.
You know, it'd be interesting what the Eagles are doing today, the Eagle coaching staff. I know the players will probably be off unless they missed weights or something, but I wonder, you know, how do you start? Did they start working on the Rams, or did they start working on the Packers?
I imagine they worked on both.
I mean, you still have to have something in your mind. This is what's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, you're not going to zero in on the team you don't think is going to win. And of course, as you said, this season started out, and our first game in the regular season was the Rams at the Philadelphia Eagles.
And the Eagles had a legitimate chance to win that game.
There's a heck of a coach right there, Bill Kolar. And I think that, you know, we're talking about Lovie Smith and some of the other guys that have come over here, but this guy's a defensive line coach, and to watch him coach, you know, they say players have a motor that goes 110 miles an hour. This guy has that kind of motor, and it transcends right into his defensive line. I mean, those guys run more in a practice than any defensive line I've seen in the history of the game.
That's Oz Hakeem on the end around, or the flanker around, or the wide receiver around.
Those are the things that Oz Hakeem can do, and you know, he can not only run that thing, but he can run it. Remember, he was an option quarterback in high school. Sometimes they'll start a play like that, and Oz Hakeem will come, and then he'll run an option play, and he'll be like an option quarterback. That's one that Mike Martz might run. You know, now, you see, once you get this game won and you have the ball, and your Mike Martz, who's kind of a mad scientist type of guy anyway, you can put some plays in that you want to make that other team work against.
They got to get ready for that.
And they have to get ready for it, even though you're not going to do it against them.
Here's Falk. Hit behind the line by Billy Jenkins.
Billy Jenkins, of course, was the strong safety for the Rams in their Super Bowl year. And he went to Denver and was released by Denver, and the Packers picked him up. Then the Packers released him, and then they brought him back. You know, the Packers defense isn't the same. I think you have to mention that Leroy Butler's not in there, and that I don't know that Leroy Butler in this game with this matchup with this speed would have been a big factor anyway, but he has over the years been the heart and soul of this Packer defense.
Here's Warner back. Screen pass read well by the Packers. It'll bring up third down. You know, we were talking about that Eagle-Ram game. That was in Philadelphia. And 2 days later, the world changed.
Right. And we had both been in Philadelphia. There's Leroy Butler, and we both went down to New York because our next game was going to be these Green Bay Packers in New York against the Giants.
And that game, of course, didn't take place until the end of the year.
There's Alan Rossum in there as a linebacker, and that's that dollar package that they've been using all day that the Rams took a little while to figure out, but now have figured it out.
Warner. Torrey Holt. We might be a little shy of the first.
You know, we just got word from the Philadelphia Eagles that the players are off today, but the ones that need treatment are in there getting treatment, and the coaches are there at the facility. Of course, you would know that they would be, but they're working on both teams. And I would guess that right now they're not working on both teams. They probably started out today.
Well, Hugh Douglas took a break to talk to our guys at halftime.
I saw that. Was that a painting behind Hugh Douglas, or was he in a forest?
I don't know.
Did you see those trees behind him?
Yeah, I think it was a painting.
Like a backdrop or something, you think?
So. Yeah.
Where in the heck is he? Maybe he was in a museum.
Good one.
Rossum back, signal fair catch. The ball bounds into the end zone. They'll start from the 20. 38-10. The Rams lead the Packers. 10:50 left to play.
Rams. On behalf of my teammates and fellow NFL players, we thank the men and women in the U.S. military for all that you do to protect our great country. Thanks, guys.
And the Rams, I'm sure, thank Aeneas Williams for all he's done today.
Not until you turn your head. Okay, see, she was looking the other way. She wasn't paying attention. So now I will. Okay. No, don't turn away. Look straight ahead. Always look straight. Always look the camera in the eye.
Here's Brett Favre. Drops it up the middle of Lamont Green. Tommy Polley.
If Tommy Polley doesn't watch out, he's going to have some kind of playoff record for tackles. He's been making tackles all over the place. He has a touchdown. He's been tackling the run. He's been tackling the pass. He's turning into something special. You know, they needed someone there, too. I mean, they had London Fletcher, and they needed another speed type of linebacker. And as they use the Tampa Bay defense, and they want to be like Tampa Bay, they wanted Derek Brooks.
Favre picked off. He threw it, bounced off, and Tommy Polley came down with it. What a game he's had.
Leonard Little is the pass rusher that is going to get there. You're going to see Leonard Little. He's going to start from here. You see him come around the corner right there. He has a hold of Brett Favre. He makes him throw it. The ball is tipped by Amon Green right into Tommy Polley. But the guy who makes this play is right here, is Leonard Little, right there. He's the guy that makes it. And Brett Favre knows that, you know, this situation, this score, this much time, you have to make something happen, and then you force it, and then those things happen.
Tommy Polley's had 2 interceptions in the last 5 years.
Yeah, but it all started right there with Leonard Little.
He's got 2 today. Here's Marshall Faulk. Inside the 30, about the 28.
This hasn't been a Brett Favre day today. The Ram defense has had their way with him. You look, they've sacked him twice. They've hit him 4 times, hurried him 4 times. The big one intercepted him 4 times, had 2 batted balls. That defense has been all over him. I mean, they come in to get Brett Favre, and they got him.
The INTs are the big thing.
Well, and then the thing that he didn't get any running. I mean, we'd said this earlier, that when he's his best is when Amon Green is his best, and that didn't happen either.
Rams jumped on Amon Green. Faulk. Taken down by Santana Dotson.
Yeah, this offensive line of the Rams, I think, is the other thing. You tend to talk about their receivers and Marshall Faulk and Kurt Warner, but this line has done a heck of a job. And Orlando Pace right there is, I think, is maybe the best tackle in all of football. Tom Newton, Andy McCullum, the center we talked about, where he led and pulled and did some of those things. I think he's the underrated guy there. Adam Timmerman, the right guard, he's going to the Pro Bowl, and big Rod Jones starting for his first time for Ryan Tucker has played very well at right tackle.
Pass is caught. Short of a first down. That's Marshall Faulk. The great thing about that offensive line, Warner is slow getting up. See how he got hit.
Well, you see, Vonnie Holiday comes on a stunt. I was just talking about how well the offensive line does. He goes right by Tom Newton. Newton started to the outside. Vonnie Holiday just pushes him to the right side, and he's right on top of Kurt Warner. And that one hurt Warner. I mean, that one, it's not the hit that hurts as much as the second hit. I mean, you get the hit from Vonnie Holiday, then the body hits the turf.
The great thing about, one of the great things about that offensive line, you were just talking about them, is that they're all going to be together for the next 5 years, which is unheard of in this day and time in the NFL. They're all under contract for 5 years. Sunday, the NFL postseason continues on Fox with the NFC Championship game, with the 2 teams fighting to go to the Super Bowl. The St. Louis Rams will host the Philadelphia Eagles. The NFC playoffs continue next week, beginning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time or 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Fox. 4th down coming. I don't think we're premature in saying the Rams are going to win this game. Here's Warner back to throw. Lofts it deep. Incomplete. Intended for Jeff Robinson. 38-10 it will remain. 8 minutes exactly left to play at the Dome in St. Louis, as the Rams control of things right now. Go 38-10. The Rams over the Packers. First and 10 for the Green Bay Packers at their own 25. Intercepted and it bounced off the hands. This is Aeneas Williams touchdown. Aeneas Williams and Tommy Polley have put on some show, haven't they?
What a day for Aeneas Williams. What a day for Tommy Polley, and what a terrible day for Brett Favre.
5 interceptions.
I'll tell you, all the players love Aeneas Williams. You have winners and you have losers in this game, and the finality of it. We say the winner plays in a championship game next week, and the loser has 6 months to think about this one. Out of Amon Green's hand, a little high, and again, you know, they could just play deep, they could just play zone, they could just play everything off. Aeneas Williams is doing that, and the ball goes right to him.
Most points ever allowed by Green Bay in a playoff game.
And it could be most points allowed by an offense in a playoff game.
Could be.
The Packers have had such a great year. I mean, they came back. They were 12-4 this year. Beat the 49ers last week, but this is about the Rams today.
Well, you know, John, there are exceptions, but not many, where a team that has to play the extra game advances. Baltimore did it last year, I know, but it's not a situation that happens very often.
Well, they have to play the extra game because they didn't have the better record, and the team that has a better record during the regular season gets the bye. So it's kind of a reward system. It's not something given to you. But this has to be one of Brett Favre's worst days. You can just see it in his eyes there. And remember last week against the 49ers, you could see in his eyes that he was going to come back. And I didn't feel that this second half.
No, the fire was not there that was there last week.
And the fire could have been in the belly, but it was just they got themselves in such a hole that they just couldn't get out of it. And then things started to go backwards on them, and then the Rams were able to play defense the way they wanted to.
Bouncing kick, left on the ground. Finally picked up by Herbert Goodman, who gets it out.
Herbert Goodman on the return.
Week 1, the Rams and the Eagles. The Rams led 17-3 through 3 quarters. The Eagles tied the game with 2 Cecil Martin touchdown catches in the 4th quarter. Then when the Eagles kicked off, about 4 Eagles had a shot at recovering, and they were down about 15 yards away from winning the game.
And
nobody could pick it up.
They put a heck of a lot of pressure on Kurt Warner. That was Cecil Martin. He had 2 touchdowns. Here's the play you're talking about here. All they had to do was pick it up, and they could win the game. They didn't, and the Rams right here win the game in overtime.
Here's Favre throwing to Bradford at the 40.
And they still get a lot of guys around the ball. I would expect that Kurt Warner's day is over. I don't think that the next time the Rams get the ball that he'll be in there, and I wouldn't expect Marshall Faulk to be in there, and I wouldn't expect Isaac Bruce to be in there. And Mike March knows that I got this one, and now I got to start getting ready for next one.
Well, getting ready for the next one is going to mean, you know, as Hugh Douglas said at the half, the Eagles are going to come after him.
And it's going to be a battle.
Bradford again. Beg your pardon. Antonio Freeman.
Talking about Aeneas Williams' day. This is something. Look at that: 7 tackles, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, both for TDs, and that's a postseason record. 2 interceptions for touchdowns.
But for that ruling that we talked about, it would have been 3 touchdowns.
That's right. That was the one that he took the fumble away, and I thought it was a touchdown, and you thought that he was down by contact, as did the officials.
Bradford again, tripped up in Ram territory and hurt. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Remember, he went out earlier. It looked like he, pulled a hamstring or something earlier, and he still could be limping from that other thing.
Pulled his sock down. That's usually a pretty good indication that maybe it's a cramp or maybe something went wrong down there.
I think Corey Bradford and Donald Driver are going to be big parts of this receiving corps in the future for the Green Bay Packers. And Brett Favre is going to be back and have many, many more days.
He's had some great ones, and he is a great one. Favre fires, incomplete. Intended for Bradford.
So Bradford, maybe he just had his sock knocked down. Maybe it wasn't anything. London Fletcher is kind of a spark, that just keeps going. That he says, he said, I'm looking at Gilbert Brown, those big defensive linemen, from the Packers. He was telling me last night, and he says, in that dome tomorrow, he said they're going to be sucking wind. He said, you know how I know? Because in that dome in the fourth quarter, I'm sucking wind.
Big Gilbert. That's quite a story how he got down to where he could play again. Favre throws. Touchdown. Antonio Freeman, his second of the day. Too late, but they're still after it.
Yeah, but remember last week was Antonio Freeman that got that big play the Packers needed to play. And Brett Favre zipped one into him. That was one of the hardest passes I had ever seen thrown.
He thought so too.
Yeah, remember we were saying that the Rams defense has been playing loose this whole second half, and the Packers here just took advantage of it.
17 for Green Bay now, 45 for the St. Louis Rams. Going back to that Eagle game yesterday against the Bears, Donovan McNabb, of course, is the thing that makes it work. Touchdown pass there from McNabb. To Staley from McNabb, and now McNabb himself.
I agree with Deuce Staley on that thing. I mean, how come some people get cat and some people get chrysanthemum?
Say that again?
Some people get cat. I mean, if you're in a spelling bee, they say, how do you spell cat? C-A-T.
Yeah.
And okay, the next, who wants to be next? Deuce Staley said, I want to be next. And the teacher said, okay, how do you spell chrysanthemum?
Now that one is beyond me. I have no idea.
Well, Deuce Staley that's what he was thinking. And then he got upset, and then he had to have a little quiet time, a little time out, and he had to go sit in the corner. I used to sit. You remember when you were in school, did you ever go and sit in the corner?
Yeah, I got put in the cloakroom, not in the corner.
I got, was it cloak room or cloak room?
Cloak.
Yeah, I went to school in Florida. I got caught in the cloak room, too. But I used to sit in the corner, too, but never for a timeout. Deuce Staley got set in the corner because he couldn't spell chrysanthemum. Here we got an onside kick. See, it's going to be on this side because they have all those guys over there. So you have to kick the ball over to that side. And then the Rams have, it's a fake.
To the other side. Worked about like everything else has worked for Green Bay today.
But there is a penalty flag, too.
Yep.
In fact, there's two penalty flags, and I would say it's offsides. I would say it's Green Bay offsides where the flags are. Jeff Triplett will get it straightened out for us. Jeff Triplett's had a pretty steady game because sometimes a Triplett game can be an unsteady game.
Sometimes it can be unusually long.
And that was against the Rams. That's against the receiving team. It wasn't against the Packers.
Offside, receiving team. 5-yard penalty, free kick.
See, there's a 10-yard restraining line. In other words, 10 yards from where the ball is kicked, you can't go into that area until the ball is kicked. So see, if you look at where the ball is, then 10 yards from there would be the restraining line. And if the ball's there, then this here is the restraining line, and the Rams can't be over that line. They can't be over this line right there. They're lined up over it now. Get back. Okay. Now, if they come over this line before the ball is kicked, that's offsides. That's what they did.
They just get back, coach.
Looks like they're ready to do it again.
They kick it in the other direction.
Hey, baby.
The Rams touched it. The Packers get it.
Yeah, that's a Packers ball.
Antonio Freeman recovered.
You look at the Rams and their weapons, but look at their touchdowns today. Aeneas Williams, Tommy Polley, James Hodgins, and then Marshall Falk and Torrey Holt. You expect that, but 4 touchdowns. Yeah, from Williams, Polley, and Hodgins. Who would have thought? But that's a great thing about NFL football and playoffs and all these things. You never know. You never know who's going to win, who's going to lose, who's going to make big plays, and who's not.
45-17, far back to throw. Drops it up the middle. Amon Green gets it to midfield.
Amon Green was telling us last night, I mentioned earlier, that carrying the ball to the left hand all the time. He said, starting in minicamp this next year, he's going to start working on carrying the ball in his right hand because it has hurt him. In fact, it hurt him in this game, that one fumble he had.
I asked him what he thought of Brett Favre. Was he everything that he thought he was before he joined the Packers? He said, and more. And the pass is picked off by Dexter McClean. Another one of those bounce-off interceptions.
There's been 3 or 4 of those interceptions today have been deflections.
At least.
You remember Leonard Little getting in where one to Grant Wistrom. You hear the ball is tipped right there. You see who tipped it? Tommy Polley.
Yep.
Tommy Polley gets an assist for that one. Dexter McClean gets the interception. This Tommy Polley, if he doesn't watch out, he's going to be in the Pro Bowl. They'll put him in the Pro Bowl.
And based on this game alone.
Well, if you're going to have a big game, this is the time to do it. They always say that big players step up in big games. 161 interception return yards. It's an NFL postseason record. That's one you like to have for you, but you don't want against you. I'm surprised Kurt Warner's still in there, Pat. There's no way what he's been through that I know he's probably just going to hand off, but
probably
45-17 and 4 minutes go. You got this one. I mean, I think you get him out of there. I think you get Marshall Falk out of there. Because you got Trunk Candidate. I mean, your Trunk Candidate hasn't played today. And you could bring someone like him in and he could break another one for a touchdown.
The thing is, though, in the case of a guy like Kurt Warner, he doesn't want to come out of there.
Of course, but at some point, you're the coach and he's the player. You tell him to, and he does. Because if anything were to happen to any of them from this point on, you'd kick yourself all week. Now, I know that you say, well, you can't play that way, but sometimes you can.
81 offense.
I'd say
penalty remains second down.
We talked about in our opening remarks about his voice problems, the fact that he was hit 2 weeks ago against Atlanta in the voice box. That seems to have stood up very well.
Yeah, right. And, we could tell talking to him last night that it would, but the thing that I couldn't get, when he was talking about how they stuck a camera down his throat and then up in his nose to get down in his throat to get pictures of his vocal cords. I know you said you know how that could happen. I don't know how you can get a camera up your nose that can take pictures of your vocal cords.
I know what the passage looks like because I had 11 broken noses, so maybe that helps me.
But you didn't have any cameras stuck up in there and down in your vocal cords.
Long before that. Next Sunday, the NFL postseason continues on Fox with the NFC Championship game with 2 teams fighting to go to the Super Bowl. The St. Louis Rams will host the Philadelphia Eagles. The NFC playoffs continue next week beginning at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I beg your pardon, that's Central Time, only on Fox.
The only thing that I was just going to say, the only thing I can think of, Pat, is that the Rams have a bye. And what Mike Martz did is he gave the whole team the week off. They didn't come in, they didn't practice, they didn't do anything. So, and we watched them practice, and they were really fresh. And then maybe he thinks that that because they had the week off and they're fresh, they need to work out a little. So I don't know why he's doing this.
Well, he said they had them all stay in a hotel here in St. Louis last night. Normally, it's mandatory. You don't have to stay in a hotel if you don't want to. You can stay home if you want to. But he said, I put them in a hotel just to save them from themselves because of all the distractions and all the demands.
Yeah, the bigger the game, the more relatives you get.
Amazing how family increases.
Yeah, I mean, if you just you're just playing a regular season game of preseason, you got like 2 cousins.
Yeah.
And then you get into playoffs and you have cousins and uncles and aunts and family from all over. And then so he said that's why he put him in a hotel last night.
Kurt Warner's wife.
Kurt Warner said that that week that they had off, he couldn't talk, and he said it's pretty good not talking to the press all the time, but he couldn't talk to his wife or kids either.
He sort of intimated that she liked that 2 minutes ago. 45-17, the Rams over the Packers, much to the delight of this sellout crowd at the Dome in Los Angeles. They used to be there. St. Louis.
Yeah, and because they know that they can come back again next week when the Philadelphia Eagles come in here and watch the Rams try and beat the Eagles, and they know that if they do that, then they go to the Super Bowl, and that's what it's all about.
What about this guy, Mike Martz? Genius?
I think so. I think he's one of the best. I think that what he does is probably coach not only the best offense in football now, but maybe the best offense ever in football.
Today's game is being produced by Bob Stenner, directed by Sandy Grossman. The tape producer is Mike Frank. The associate director is Mike Roig. The broadcast associates are Charles McDonald, Kerry Klosser, and Wayne Wilson. Technical producer is Bob Muller. The pregame show is produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. Senior producers Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill.
I've been both sides of this sideline in a playoff game, and this side here, knowing that you haven't done anything yet, you just won the right to go to the championship game.
You lost?
But no, I've done both. I've won and I've lost. And that other side there, it's the end of your season. And these are the toughest losses. This is the lowest of the low because you have to live with this one for 6 months. There's no, we'll come back tomorrow and we'll get regrouped and we'll, play again next Sunday. There is no next Sunday. And the next Sunday isn't until next September. But for these guys, it's next week, and that is big.
And that is big. That is the NFC Championship. And one more week past that is the Super Bowl here on Fox.
And this is the most fun time of the year, when you have the best teams and the best players playing against each other.
Well, the tempo of the play on the field increases. The tempo among us increases. The tempo of everybody involved gets a little bit faster.
I don't know that the clock is going to keep running.
They may have to stay and play.
Well, there's a change of possession. Yeah, it's an automatic timeout. They can't run the clock out.
What a day this must be for Aeneas Williams. After all those frustrating years with the Cardinals, when he played at a Pro Bowl level, and the team was just not good enough for any postseason reward. Well, today, he's there.
And, and then he wants to be there again next week, and the week after that is the one that he wants, because getting to the Super Bowl is a thing. But the real thing is winning the Super Bowl.
There is the owner of the Rams, Georgia Frontier. Now you're right, they're going to have to run another play.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing wasn't running another play. The big thing was getting everyone off the field.
Run out the clock.
In order to run another play.
Satisfying for Kurt Warner. He was not as sharp as we've seen him on some days, but he was pretty doggone good.
Well, and I think one thing you learned today when you talk about the Rams and how explosive they are, and how many weapons they have. You have to include the defense. You have to include Tommy Polley. As you were just saying, you have to include Aeneas Williams, because today was about Rams defense.
Let's go down to Ron Pitts.
Well, Kurt, you went through a lot this week. You had a throat problem, and then you got the stomach flu, and then your back started to tighten up a little bit, but it all seemed to work out in the end for you.
You know, it was a long week, but, you know, we came out and fought today, and our defense just played unbelievable. You know, the offense really never got going, but never had to get going. The defense was just dominating the game from the start, and we got to give them a lot of credit. The offense did what we had to do, but really wasn't that much today. But glad I got it through this week, and now we just rest and get ready to go for next week.
That dollar package that the Packers were using looked like it confused you guys, gave you a little bit of problem early on.
Well, they were just dropping everybody back. You know, we were trying to get some shots down the field. We put ourselves in long situations. Really just had to check it down. It wasn't anything, you know, anything tough. It was just that they were dropping everybody back with a bunch of quick guys in there. And we just had to check the ball down. And like I said, our defense was playing great, and we knew that we didn't have to force anything downfield. We took what they gave us and got what we could, and then let our defense back on the field.
You got the Eagles here next week, NFC Championship game. Give me your thoughts on Philadelphia.
Great football team, a solid football team, top to bottom, both sides of the ball. Got a great playmaker in Donovan. You know, the defense is solid all the way around, so it's going to be a, you know, great football game. It's going to be a tough football game. We're going to have to bring everything we've got and fight for it.
All right, good luck next week. Pat, back up to you.
All right, Ron, Kurt's going to have to start shaving a little bit more closely. He's got a little gray in the muzzle.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what causes that gray in the muzzle? When you get blood on the vocal cords. They're sticking cards. They're sticking cameras down your throat.
This is Pat Summerall for John Madden and Ron Pitts saying so long from St. Louis, where once again the final score is the Rams 45, the Packers 17. Up next is the postgame show with JB, Terry, Howie, and Chris right after these words. For more information on today's game and the latest NFL news, log on to FoxSports.com, the official sports site of the Internet.